Hello, welcome to MoviePod, a reclaimed cinema podcast. This podcast examines movies that have had noticeable shifts in reception since release. This is the first episode of the new format. Today we'll be discussing a film that's been reclaimed by subscribers of the quote-unquote vulgar auteurist theories, as well as action cinema fans. I am joined by Maeve this week to discuss Paul W.S. Anderson's Resident Evil from 2002. How are you doing, Maeve?
Where am I? How did I get here? What's that in the corner?
Got amnesia already?
God, I wish. Honestly, I think amnesia would make life easier in some aspects right now.
I feel it would be more annoying than anything else. Because can you imagine learning about all the fresh horrors of the world for the first time, like all at once?
Yeah, but I'd still have like 2 or 3 moments of innocence that I didn't have before.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Like, it's kind of like when I was at TIFF, like I was like for 11 days straight, the only news I ever got was that Charlie Kirk got shot. Other than that, I was oblivious to everything going on in the world. And it felt kind of great coming out of that little bubble. Like, oh, like I don't know what's happened like in real life the past 11 days.
Yeah, that's like, I guess that's kind of the closest you can get to going to like summer camp right now.
Yeah, well, like I guess Burning Man would probably be the best example of it. Burning Man's like summer camp if you want to do a lot of drugs.
It's like everything I know about Burning Man indicates that I would just find it so incredibly tedious.
I have a couple of friends that have gone a couple times, and they said it's an absolute blast. Even if you're not in there for like the drug scene or anything like that, just like the arts scene is really interesting. Just like people come there with like really cool exhibits and stuff. There's culture, like there's like people like the whole bartering system involving water, which is really cool. It's like playing Fallout.
Yeah, but also like everything I hear from it is like how like Silicon Valley tech idiots have kind of tried to take it over the way they've taken over like the city of Austin, Texas.
True, so. Yeah. I guess my friends went like the 2010s, so it's probably much worse now, like everything else. And the movie we're talking about is about a tech company being totally evil too.
Gasp.
So I guess first off, let's talk about your experience with Resident Evil as a game series. Do you ever play the games?
I am not very much of what one may call a gamer. I've played video games from time to time, but it's mostly like stuff I can run on my computer. Like I had a GameCube and a Nintendo Wii, and I have a Switch now, but I own one game for that Switch, which is Breath of the Wild.
Great
and
game.
I have not finished it because I ran into the Yiga Clan mission and got like you have to infiltrate the Yiga Clan stronghold, and I was so bad at that and failed so many times. I was just like, I'm just gonna like put it down for a bit, look at a walkthrough, and then get back to it. And then over a year and a half later, I still have not done that.
Oh, I should go back into it. That part's pretty easy once you learn to, if you throw bananas to distract them, they'll go after that. And
yeah, it's like the thing is, I get past like the first half, and then like I get to like that sort of like thing where I'm in the ceiling, and I have to figure out how to get past like the ceiling that leads to the room with like 5 billion bananas in it. Mm-hmm. I can't get through that without the Yiga Clan, so I need to actually like watch footage of someone playing and getting past that segment, so I know what to do. Because I tried like reading a walkthrough, but I need the visual thing. I did pick up the game again and do like 45 minutes in it like 2 weeks ago in order to like refresh my memory of the controls.
It's a very zen meditative game, which I really, really like.
Yeah, it's like I feel like it's a very like cliche favorite game answer, but I feel like it kind of has to be for me by default at this point.
Yeah, and like the Resident Evil games, so like I've played all the mainline games, and like I played Resident Evil 1, 0, and maybe 2 on the N64 by the time the first movie came out. So I was already into Resident Evil by the time I had seen the movie. I find the games to be a lot of fun. They're pretty cheesy, which is like pretty cheesy, pretty humorous. Once you get into the rhythm of it, because like a lot of it is like you're going like walking through hallways. This movie is a lot of walking through hallways, but it's also a lot of like memorizing location, finding quickest routes to places, conserving ammo. It's a really fun game once you get into the rhythm of it, but it can be very stressful and frustrating if you fuck up. Like, if you leave an item in the wrong spot or something, or get run back to your inventory because you, like, you only have 6 inventory slots, and you have to, like, drop a key off somewhere else, you end up needing the key. So it can get pretty frustrating, but they are really fun games. And it's funny with walkthroughs there, like a lot of, like, people who are involved with the movie, like, they just got, like, they either play the game themselves or got someone else to play it and just, like, record a walkthrough for them, like, probably 2001 or 2000s, probably a camcorder or something to kind of get the vibe.
It's like a couple years later on Christoph Gans's Silent Hill movie, which also probably fits the reclaimed cinema thing. Mm-hmm. I like that movie a lot. Apparently, on set, instead of storyboards, Gans would just had a console with a copy of a Silent Hill game. I forget which one, on standby, to use that as sort of like inspiration instead of like concept art and storyboards.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got his sequel to it coming out soon, so that's going to be interesting.
So Silent Hill's getting its own sequel, because Silent Hill already had a sequel. And
yeah, but now Christoph Gans is making one. It's called Return to Silent Hill. There's a short trailer out, and yeah, looks pretty neat.
So I guess have you played Silent Hill games at all?
Not a fucking chance.
Not a chance.
I haven't played Resident Evil. Of course, I haven't played Silent Hill.
Yeah, yeah. Resident Evil is like weirdly a lot more accessible than Silent Hill, which is like strange because like they're very similar kinds of games. It's funny, like because I was listening to the audio commentary for Resident Evil, and then last night I watched the first like 20 minutes of Resident Evil Apocalypse, which is the second movie with the audio commentary, and it's funny watching all the actors talk about how like, oh, Resident Evil is like, a cult indie game, like, it's kind of like hardcore and stuff, which like it's a pretty mainstream game, but at the same time though, like it's strange that Resident Evil as a video game series took off the way it did. Like it's the best-selling horror franchise by far for video games, and it's accessible, but it's also like it's challenging. It's not too dumb, except for like every once in a while they have to reboot Resident Evil because they get too dumb and stupid. I feel like it's one of those games like it feels like you're playing a game that's like harder. It's almost like, I compare a lot to Dark Souls, where like it's hard once you start playing it, but once you get into it, the rhythm, like, oh, this game's actually like fair and challenging. So I feel like it's a game that like, yeah, it's funny watching all these actually, like, it's a hardcore non-mainstream game, but I think it is probably one of the most mainstream challenge of a games out there, because I think it is like, they're not that long. They really are not. Like maybe like you can speed run the games in like a couple hours, and like maybe it takes like 10 hours at most to beat most of the games. So they're not very long games. And they all follow a pretty similar pattern too overall. Like you start off with like barely anything, you slowly get web items as you go along. You go from one location to another location to like, pretty much descent to a lab at the end of each game, which is like what this movie does overall.
Yeah, it's like, I will admit that my main knowledge of the video game lore for Resident Evil comes from my friends who are filthy gamers who need to be locked in a dungeon. And it's mainly just like, I know various character names, I know some memes associated with it, like the whole Mr. X thing from that one remake
Resident
game a while ago. And of course I know the tall, hot vampire mommy.
Oh, Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil Village?
Yeah, because I am a gay woman on the internet, so of course I learned about it.
Honestly, if you want to play Resident Evil, I think, I'm not sure if 7 or 8 on the Switch there, but Resident Evil 8, which is called Resident Evil Village, which has the tall vampire mommy, that's a pretty good first one for who to play. It's pretty accessible.
Alright, anyways, let me just drive to Best Buy and spend $550 on a PS5 really quick.
Or spend $100 on PS4 and just get it for that. Those are pretty cheap now. I was trying to see if I could get rid of my PS4 after I got my PS5, but they're going actually pretty cheap right now, so if you want to get into like a PS4 gaming, now's the time to do it.
How much is shipping from Canada to the U.S.?
Well, with the Canada Post strike happening right now, very expensive.
Okay, never mind then. Hope the Canada Post gets what they need.
Same here. Yep.
This is a pro-union movie podcast, unlike all of those anti-union movie podcasts. Like, I don't know, I'm pretty sure Bill Maher has one.
Do you think the Umbrella Corporation has a union at all?
Absolutely fucking not.
Yeah.
I imagine Umbrella is like Amazon times 30, given how they're portrayed and described in the movie. Because, like, the opening bit of narration in the movie, which is done by an uncredited Jason Isaacs, who is meant to play a character from the video games, but that is then morphed into a character played by Ian Glenn in the sequels, named after Jason Isaacs, because I guess Isaacs was busy with Harry Potter or something.
I think so, yeah.
So that character, I guess, narrates about how the Umbrella Corporation publicly is like, the Umbrella Corporation sells medical supplies and other necessary human technology, but they secretly make all their money doing contracted viral weaponry for various world governments.
Which, like, nowadays, like, Amazon Web Services, like, sells to military contractors, and they're obvious about it. Like,
yeah, it's like a little bit of that, and like Amazon is also now getting into the pharmacy game, which I think is illegal, should be illegal.
Very much so.
Things that should be illegal, Amazon, monopolies in general, and also gambling. We need to make gambling illegal again. We tried. We cannot handle it. Make it illegal again.
I feel like is Resident Evil 4 the one that's like in like California or Vegas that has like there's 3 the one in Vegas.
My impression, Resident Evil Extinction is the one that is kind of like in the future American Southwest, and they get to the remains of Las Vegas at one point.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure at some point in that there's probably like an Umbrella Corporation like logo on like a slot machine or something.
Yeah, I'd have to like rewatch to make sure. Which, oh no, I have to rewatch. I get to rewatch these movies for the billionth fucking time. But yeah, it's like, to talk about like how I got into this and sort of like the vulgar auteur thing, like around like 2014, 2015, my sort of like mindset for film, like I'd gotten into film a couple years earlier, but it was through like very like YouTube type pseudo critic film analysis, all your fucking Jeremy Johns and your Chris Stuckmans and your Doug Walkers and shit like that, all shit that I cringe to think back on. And then like as I kind of started delving more into it and sort of like discovering things that interested me and where my tastes kind of lied, I ended up stumbling upon a new circle of regret, film Twitter. And something that a lot of the big film Twitter voices around like sort of like 2014, 2015, 2016 were really pushing was sort of the vulgar auteurism movement, which is basically like reclaiming like directors who were disliked by critics and by sort of like more broader, more mainstream film nerd circles, and being like, hey, these guys are auteurs too, and we need to treat them as such. Like, my in for vulgar auteurism was M. Night Shyamalan, a director I've always liked and admired and has made some of my favorite movies, including ones that a lot of people despise. Like, Signs has become sort of widely mocked in recent years after being a big critically liked hit.
I love Signs. It's Signs one of my favorites.
Yeah, Signs rocks. The Village, I think, is great, and there's been a lot of like great sort of writing on The Village as a piece of 9/11 cinema. I actually kind of dig After Earth because, if nothing else, for the weird sort of meta text of the Will Smith, Jaden Smith element of it all.
See, that's why I hate it.
And also, I love Glass, which a lot of people hate, which a lot of nerds in particular hate because they wanted a big, dang, stupid fight sequence, superhero shit, and that's why it fucking rocks that Night did not give it to you, because I remember so many complaints, Night didn't give the fans what they wanted. Yeah, because what the fans want is stupid. Have you considered that?
Yeah. No, I like Glass because it's an origin story for people to just discover. Spoiler alert for Glass, but the end of the movie is basically like all their fight scenes is like captured on video. So like people are just like, oh, like the world is now aware that superheroes exist. So it's an origin story for the people of the Earth understanding, oh, superpowered beings exist on this planet.
Yeah, and basically, I think M. Night Shyamalan has 2 runs of just straight all-out, like, 5-star masterpieces. The first one is The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Signs in the Village. And the second one is Glass, Old, and Knock at the Cabin. I like Trap a lot, but I kind of have... But I kind of have a very boring opinion of Trap, which is that I like the movie less once it gets out of the arena.
I like it the same amount when it leaves the arena. I think it's still a really interesting movie.
It's like, I think Trap is still a very strong movie. Like, I just don't really, like, consider it on the level of some of the other stuff that I love from Night. But yeah, it's like M. Night Shyamalan was my gateway to vulgar auteurism, and some other directors that kind of fell in that sort of, like, area. One was 2 directors that I haven't really gotten deep into the minds of, which are Neville Dean and Taylor, who made the Crank movies. But one of the big directors that vulgar auteurism was pushing was Paul W.S. Anderson. And I was curious about it because I had only sort of known Paul W.S. Anderson as a guy who made like some mid-budget nerd movies that people hated.
Yeah.
But then as I kind of delved into Paul W.S. Anderson's work, I was like, okay, there's stuff here. There's really interesting stuff here. And you kind of lock into his sensibility, which... The thing with Paul W.S. Anderson is that if he had started directing movies a decade earlier than he actually had been, he would have been making canon movies.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%, yeah.
Yeah, he would have been, like, making he would have been making stuff like fucking Stone Cold starring Brian Bosworth, that kind of thing.
Fun movie.
And he ended up coming up a bit later than that, so he does still get into making like genre movies, but in sort of a completely different way, because his first film was like a British indie, which was Jude Law's film debut, a movie called Shopping that I still have not seen.
I have not seen it either.
It is the only Paul W.S. Anderson film I have not seen. And then he goes from that into the Mortal Kombat movie, which is pretty decently liked, I think still. It remains the best Mortal Kombat movie to this day. Because
I think so too, yeah.
Yeah, that new one was so fucking bad, man.
Like, I kind of like the new one, but like the Paul W.S. Anderson kind of locks into kind of like the video game kind of mindset and logic of a movie. How video games progress is different how movies progress. But I think Paul W.S. Anderson understands how video games, like, they have their weird, like, you know, go to point A to point B, get an item, go here, do that. And with Mortal Kombat, it's kind of like you go from here to here, you do a fight. You go from here to here, do a fight. Because all Mortal Kombat is just a series of fight scenes with like some cool visuals, and I think he got that right. Of course, there's some limitations to how much violence you could put on the screen, but like, I think it's a fun movie.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, especially comparing it to the new one, directed by a commercial guy and written by some fucking jackass. It has a lot of very talented physical performers in it. But also at the same time, the issue with that Mortal Kombat movie is that it sort of falls prey to a lot of the general post-Marvel attempted franchise-building bullshit, because it tries to launch a trilogy of Mortal Kombat movies, and it does that by making a Mortal Kombat movie where the Mortal Kombat tournament doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's weird, because they're fighting before the tournament. Like, why don't you just wait till the tournament?
And it also has maybe... And it also has maybe the worst bit of this kind of screenwriting I've ever seen, where it's like... Sonya Blade, I forget who plays her, is telling Louis Tan as some guy about all her like cork board, string board research about the history of Mortal Kombat tournament, and Louis Tan's response was, "They spelled combat wrong, lol." And at that point, I just wanted to throw hot coffee on everybody's faces. That genuinely, like, that was one of the HBO Max Warner Brothers 2021 COVID movies, which I watched most of in my house. So I was just watching that one on my laptop, being like, fuck you.
I think I was just happy to see a new release.
Like, that's the thing, though. Like, some of those Warner Brothers HBO Max COVID releases, like, are, of course, like, actual good movies. Like, Dune was one of those. I think Dune was also the only one of those I saw in theaters, which is weird, because one of them was a new Matrix movie. The Matrix movies, all of them being among my favorite movies of all time. Unfortunately, due to timing, I was not able to see Matrix Resurrections in theaters, but I did watch it multiple times on HBO Max. So, and I have this gorgeous Best Buy Steelbook as well, which, man, remember when Best Buy sold discs?
Yep.
They don't fucking do that anymore, which makes me very sad.
I actually, earlier this year, I ordered it, because I just got a 4K TV this year, so I got the Matrix trilogy like on Steelbooks, and then Matrix Resurrections, there was a steelbook in France that looked really damn cool, so I ordered it from there. So I have an awesome French version of the movie, which, like, of course, is English language and everything to it too, but like, the steelbook looks really awesome.
Yeah, it's like, it's kind of funny getting like various like foreign like discs sometimes. Like I have a Blu-ray 3-pack of the Three Colors trilogy that I have not watched yet.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, the 3-pack I have is like a German release that is not region locked, and I got it from like used from like a record store in Chicago.
Nice.
Yeah, Reckless Records in Chicago. I don't know if they're still open, but they had a downtown location that when I was visiting the city a couple times, I raided their used disc section, like, because that's what I do. That's how I get my discs now.
For the most part, same here. Yep.
Yeah, I just like go to like a Half Price Books, which is a chain that is mostly kind of centered in Texas and the Midwest, but there's some in other places as well. Which is basically just like, yeah, it's like a used bookstore that also sells DVDs and CDs and records and stuff.
Yeah, like I have the first 5 Resident Evil movies on DVD. I just got them from thrift stores, probably Goodwill, over the years. Yeah, so like we've been talking about like, you know, the reception of Paul W.S. Anderson movies. It's like the reception of the first movie was pretty mixed to negative when it came out. Like, I was on video game forums around the time because I just got like Resident Evil Remake on GameCube, so like I was like talking to on forums about the game, and the movie had just come out, and like everyone was shitting on the movie. How like it was a bad adaptation, which I agree, it's not a great adaptation of the video game. They say like it lacks atmosphere, it lacks humor, it lacks tension. They want like a straight
LMAO. Those guys are fucking dipshits.
Yeah, but like like they are, but like they want a straight up adaptation of the video game instead.
Oh my
which
God.
we kind of got with Welcome to Raccoon City, which is
like the thing about gamers is that they are absolute dumbasses, and there's a reason why they should never get what they want.
But you also got to remember, 2002 though is like there were no good video game adaptations point in time. Basically, it was like that Mario Bros. Movie in the 80s, Street Fighter, which is an incredibly weird movie. I kind of like it. Mortal Kombat, then this. So like there has not been that many video game adaptations. So like people are kind of waiting for the one to kind of break through. Also around this time too, like there's a whole debate like, are video games art or not? And now that argument's kind of settled, like I think people kind of just agree that it's an equal art form to like cinema, television, plays. Like, it's just different.
Doesn't stop gamers from basically only wanting like games writing and games criticism to basically function like Consumer Reports magazine.
100%, yeah. Like, they're still, gamers are still the worst ever. Like no doubt about it. But like around this time, it came to like the popular reception of video games. Like video games were considered something like, you know, a distraction. They were considered something that was considered serious. So I think people were still looking for that one video game adaptation to kind of break through. It's like, hey, mom and dad, look, this movie's good, so you should let me, like, you know, buy more video games. And I think, like, really, at this point in time, I think there was the first Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica, and 0 was coming out when this movie came out. And, like, as an adaptation of those games, this one is not the best for it. But as we'll go on to, we'll talk about this movie for a fair amount, is that, like, this movie is good for what it's not. Like, I think that the Resident Evil movies, as they go along, they're, like, a lot better for just being schlocky B action movies with a really creative action director at the helm.
Yeah, it's like, the thing with the movie is that I remember I have a Blu-ray set of the first 5 movies, which is basically a big cardboard sleeve with all the individual Blu-rays of 1 through 5 in them. And then I bought the final chapter new on Blu-ray when it released. So that and the Underworld movies are both kind of like similar display issues I have, where it's like a big, nice cardboard sleeve that has the first bunch of movies in them, and then it's the newest one just on its lonesome. But yeah, it's like, I remember watching the promo of like the special features on the Blu-ray forever ago when I had time to sit down and watch special features. And it's kind of funny seeing how the change in how the movies were talked about by the creative team over time, because in the special features, like the EPK from the time in the first Resident Evil movie, they talk a lot about how the movie is set as a prequel to the events of the games. Specifically,
which
like
was
what
the initial
happened.
plan, yeah.
Yeah, it's like what happened in the Hive before, various names from the video game that I guess I should know. Like, I think one of them is named Redfield. Like, oh yeah, Chris Redfield, because he was in one of the later movies.
Yeah.
And all the other people who gamers clap when they see, and
which these movies have a lot of later on, because like it's the characters they bring along in the movies, like from the games, like they are very much like not how they act within the games themselves. They're basically just like, oh hey, here's Jill Valentine, let's, you know, hey, like clap as Jill Valentine, but like doesn't really act like Jill Valentine at all. Really, like it's mostly just like. It's iconography.
That's one of the reasons why the second movie is the worst one, because they just went whole hog on trying to please the gamers with the second movie. Yeah. So as a result,
and that was what the reception was at the time too. Like, I remember being on gaming forums and seeing people like the second movie a lot more because it was like trying to be more of an action video game rather than being like a Resident Evil thing. And like that game's really trying to adapt Resident Evil 3 into like a movie with like Nemesis and such, and that stuff is pretty effective when it comes to adapting the video game stuff. So I think people thought like, oh, at least Resident Evil is like learning lessons, going in the right direction.
Which is funny in hindsight, because 2 is very clearly the worst movie with like the worst with the worst filmmaking and the worst script, and
it's the worst one clearly by far. Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah, when you bring me back in however many months to talk about it, we'll get into it.
Yeah, these movies, they did very well. Like, each Resident Evil movie in this live-action series made more money than the last. So, like, they were going to keep making them no matter what. So, a big noticeable change in reception came in the series in the early 2010s. I think there's a lot of combining elements to this. So, Resident Evil 6 came out in like 2012, and no one liked it. It made a lot of money, sold a lot of copies, but the fans really disliked it. It was more of a dumb action. It was more of a dumb action game than it was a horror game. Which, like, what are the movies? They're more of a dumb action franchise rather than a horror movie. Around this time is like when the Marvel movies took over the box office. Middle budget movies like Resident Evil and like Underworld and stuff start fizzling out. There's like these movies don't really exist anymore.
Yeah, those great kind of like screen gems, like $50 million like dumbass action horror hybrids. Like a new Underworld and a new Resident Evil came out like 2 weeks apart in 2017, and that was kind of like the last of it. Mm-hmm. With Underworld still leaving elements to be like figured out, if I remember correctly, but the issue is that Kate Beckinsale just didn't want to do it anymore.
I've only seen I have the entire series on DVD, but I've only seen the first one.
The second Underworld is the best one. The third Underworld has a lot of shooters and it does a lot of really interesting stuff. 4 is bad. It has some like It has like 1 or 2 okay action sequences in it, but it feels more like a pilot for an Underworld TV series than it does like a full film. And Blood Wars is kind of cut to the bone, but you know, it's fun enough. And it gives Kate Beckinsale fun new dyed hair, which why make these movies if you aren't going to give those stars insane looks?
And the one thing that makes these movies really work, the Resident Evil live action ones, is that Mila Jovovich is like, she has the best looks ever.
Yeah, Mila Jovovich, like, I think around the third one I think around the second one she started picking out the outfits herself, and I know that for at least Extinction, her own clothing line designed her look for that movie. I
know at the so spoiler for the end of the first movie here, that she said in the audio commentary that like at the end of the movie when she wakes up again and she's like covered with like another like white like hospital gown and stuff, like she was the one that did her own hair for that scene, and she came up with her own little costume there too. So she had some control in the first one too.
Yeah, because like Mila Jovovich was a model before she became an actor, and she is still kind of very iconic in sort of like that 90s fashion world. In part because she had a few like acting parts that really took off that around the same time she was doing her main modeling. But when she pivoted more to film, like, I think a part of why Resident Evil is still kind of like arguably her most definitive role, because it's either this or Leeloo Dallas in The Fifth Element. I think part of it is that like Mila is really good at playing this sort of like steely, sort of detached action hero character. There are multiple periods over the course of this series and in its promo materials and like making of stuff where various people, especially Paul W.S. Anderson, compare Mila to Clint Eastwood. And I feel like that kind of nails it. Like, she's got that sort of presence and that sort of vibe. Like, I guess if I had to like compare the two, I'd say Clint's the better actor overall. Because part of it is that modern action star Mila, without Paul either writing, or producing, or directing, the vehicles built around her just aren't great. Like, I've never seen Ultraviolet. Everyone hates that movie.
That's a bad movie.
Like, I don't know. Ultraviolet could be a movie where I watch it and am like, and go to the mat for it. Every once in a while, I'll get a vibe that maybe I could like go to the mat for a movie everyone hates.
Wish I tried doing it at the Ultraviolet a few years ago. So I bought it on DVD, rewatched it after the first time since it came out, and it's so ugly. That's the main problem, is that it's a hideous looking movie, and like she's not very good in it. It's edited very strangely and haphazardly. It's just a movie that's just like there's nothing really there at all. Like it has Kurt Wimmer directed, the same guy did Equilibrium. It's not great.
I have not seen a movie Kurt Wimmer directed. The funny thing is, in high school, like my senior year English class, we did a dystopia unit. That was, you know, sort of like the history of like dystopia and science fiction. And the teacher was like, look, after you watch all of these movies and read all these books, you should watch Equilibrium, not because it's great, but because it is a very interesting mix of literally everything we are talking about put in a blender.
I can see that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's like, I know people stick up for Equilibrium, but my thing with it is that the way some people, like, I remember like when young adult dystopia boom was happening, and there were a lot of people who were sort of like talking about it, because it's not like those books and movies are above criticism, but there were a lot of people talking about it in a deeply sort of sexist way, that people were talking about sort of like the YA paranormal romance boom that preceded the YA dystopia stuff, and also just young adult books in general. And again, these books, a lot of them fucking suck. Like, a lot of them are not, like, beyond reproach or beyond criticism, but at the same time, some of the discussion of those books and movies kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth just listening to it. Yeah, and I guess to finish off, like, I saw people, like, talking about Equilibrium as a better, more badass version of the YA dystopia stuff. Like, girls should watch this instead.
No, they should not.
And it's like, if there are people who, like, I've noticed a phenomenon of people whose opinions on pop culture calcified in the year 2010 and they are never growing past it. So the way, it's like whenever I hear people be like shit talk, like, pop music that has kind of just become, like, accepted canon. Like, people are like, this song is trash, and the song is like, that person is so untalented, and the artist they're talking about is, like, Kesha.
Yeah.
And another thing is, like, whenever people, like, still make, like, racist jokes about M. Night Shyamalan's name or crap on him for the fucking Airbender movie, it's like, that movie was 15 years ago and there's a worse live-action Last Airbender thing out now. We get it. You like the cartoon you saw on Nickelodeon when you were 9. That does not mean still needs to be your entire personality and what you base your entire, like, sort of, like, online identity and taste in film on.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing I'm going to struggle with, like, with this podcast, with the new format, is that, like, there's always going to be shooters for things when people grow up with the movies, too, because, like, oh, I like this as a kid, so it has to be, like, you know, something that's actually great, but, like, sometimes kids just like bad things. So, like, I'm trying to find things that actually have, like, you know, a full-on, like, reappraisal. But I was doing some research on, like, when people started turning around Resident Evil and Paul W.S. Anderson, and I noticed a big bunch of articles pop up in September 2012. And it's
because that is when Resident Evil Retribution came out, and that kind of became one of the defining vulgar auteurist texts.
But also what happened, September 12th, 2012, Resident Evil Retribution came out. But also, Paul Thomas Anderson released The Master on September 12th, 2012. So it's one of the situations where people like making those jokey articles like, well, Paul Anderson's releasing a good movie, and it's going to be Resident Evil Retribution. So people are making those jokey headlines then. And yeah, then people were like, because of that, because Paul Thomas Anderson, this is the first movie since There Will Be Blood, so everyone's trying to elevate Paul W.S. Anderson as well, because, like, it'd be fun to have these Andersons kind of square off kind of thing. And, like, it's not a, like, even if it was, like, a Barbenheimer thing for that point in time, but, like, and because they are such wildly different movies, like, The Master and Resident Evil Retribution, like, they are wildly different movies, but they're wildly entertaining movies for different reasons.
And also, they're both kind of about, like, loss of individuality.
Yeah,
in a way.
Yeah, there's absolutely comparisons that you can make. Yeah, so people were defending Paul W.S. Anderson around this time too, more than I ever saw before. So like that's when people started using the term vulgar auteur when it came to Anderson. So back it up a little bit, because we're talking about vulgar auteur theory a little bit, but like I think we should talk about auteur theory just to begin with, which is a concept that Francois Truffaut came on in the 1950s during the French New Wave. He's one of the big French New Wave filmmakers. The idea of auteur theory is that it's the idea you can assign authorship to a film, and it should be the director, because the director's filmmaking control and just the role on the set allows their style and sensibilities to seep into the picture more so than any other person on the set. So vulgar auteur theory as a term was first used by a Canadian critic in 2009. The critic was named Andrew Tracy, and he was writing an essay about Michael Mann. At that point, Michael Mann's latest film was
all the vulgar auteur people I knew fucking loved Michael Mann, me included.
Exactly.
Like, I think a lot of this was part of like around the reappraisal of Miami Vice and sort of like the instant.
This Miami Vice was the movie this essay was pretty much about, because everyone
and a lot of the people who loved Miami Vice when Black Hat came out, they kind of immediately launched onto Black Hat. And it took me a while to get on the Black Hat train, but I eventually did. It took a couple watches.
Yeah.
And now I think that movie is just kind of like a flat out great.
I think Black Hat and Miami Vice are like 5 out of 5 movies. I love them to death.
Yeah, it's like I will say that my favorite Man is probably Miami Vice, but also like it changes, like whatever my second place is kind of changes with every rewatch I do with Michael Mann, you know?
It's the kind of argument, like, people became nostalgic for VHSs when DVDs came out. Like, people are always nostalgic for the earlier things that happened. And I feel like with this CGI digital age we're in, these movies that are kind of like proto-CGI, stuff like Resident Evil, where, like, it's not all CGI. It's like, the CGI in this movie is not the best, but they're blending it interestingly with some real, actual, like, animatronics, prosthetic work. Like, so it's the...
And also with Resident Evil Afterlife, but especially Resident Evil Retribution, sort of like using the inherent artificiality of digital filmmaking becomes a big point for vulgar auteurs. And you kind of see that a bit with Man in his digital era, specifically with Miami Vice and Black Hat. And with Public Enemies too, but a bit lesser because people like that movie less. Like, I will just, like, flat out say it. I think Resident Evil Retribution is both the best video game movie of all time and Paul's best movie. I think
it's his best movie for sure.
Yeah, I think that movie is just flat out incredible, and a big part of it is its use of the artifice of digital. Like, it's shot with the red 3D cameras that were going on around that time, like the stuff that Ridley Scott shot Prometheus with, and it was using it in a very interesting way. I never saw the movie in 3D, but you look at how that movie looks compared to Afterlife, which was shot on the James Cameron 3D system, and Retribution looks so much better. Like, I like Afterlife, but Afterlife kind of has that issue with a lot of, like, of the cheaper shot in 3D movies that kind of came out both before and after Avatar, where when you're not watching it in 3D, it just looks so flat.
Yeah, and the parts that are supposed to be, like, the big 3D moment, like, it looks so jarring to see. Like, it looks like, oh, this is distractingly bad.
The movie that comes to mind is, have you seen Drive Angry with Nick Cage?
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of like the defining look of that kind of thing in my mind.
So, like, with vulgar tourism as a term to, like, revalidate the previously dismissed work of cinemas by directors, like, a lot of think pieces did pop up in the 2010s, and there's a lot of directors that will definitely pop up in this podcast later on that will applying directors like Zack Snyder, Michael Bay, John McTiernan, Paul Verhoeven, Tony Scott. There's all
Zack Snyder and Tony Scott especially are two directors that I definitely fall under the vulgar tourism thing for. Like, if, like, there is a chance I drag you to the podcast recording station at gunpoint, and I can tell you why I think Batman vs. Superman is good.
I hate that movie a ton, so it's gonna be a real struggle.
I don't love the movie, but in its 3-hour form, I actually really like it, and I'm also a pretty big shooter for the Snyder cut.
Oh God, yeah, that would take a lot of convincing.
I really love Snyder's Army of the Dead movie he did for Netflix, which everyone else. Even the people I know who were kind of positive on that movie just thought it was okay, and I was, like, over the fucking moon for it.
But, like, I can see the value of it because, like, because Zack Snyder is someone who clearly has his own artistic voice, and it comes out in his movies, which, like, I hate what his artistic voice is, but at least it's something that's his. Village Voice wrote an article about Fast and Furious 6, Justin Lin and vulgar altruism, because, like, Fast and Furious got, like, you know, after Fast 5 came up, critics started turning around liking these movies, and Justin Lin had already directed a few of these at this point, so, like, people were like, oh, like, Justin Lin's a vulgar auteur as well. So, like, it's kind of coming mainstream as these, like, you know, these long franchises kept going along, and Fast and Furious is a movie which is you know, they are, you know, traditionally they're considered bad movies, but, like, kind of like, oh, these bad movies are actually fun, and as people start turning around about them, and people started reappraising Fast and Furious movies as well. Like, Tokyo Drift was one that everyone hated when it came out, but people started actually liking it when they went back to it.
Yeah, but then we sort of get to the late 2010s, sort of like franchiseification, and I feel like the prominence of vulgar auteurism kind of like falls apart as we move into the slop era. Like, even like the later Fast movies definitely fall victim to that. Like, Fast X is kind of borderline. Like, I watched that movie on like a Sunday afternoon on streaming, where previously I had been to like every Fast and Furious like opening weekend. That one, the word was just so toxic. And
it's bad.
And yeah, it's like the vibe was toxic from when Justin Lin got fired and replaced with Louis Leterrier, who I have heard stories about Leterrier on set. He seems like a very well-liked person, well-respected person, and I'm sure he's a nice dude. But he was put in a bad situation and made a bad movie there. And now it's like, it looks like the Fast series may just never be completed. It may just end on a cliffhanger now.
The new one's supposed to come out next year, apparently, allegedly.
Like they keep saying that, but like the reason why that Jurassic World movie came out like this past summer was because Fast X kept like not making any progress, and they rushed that into production just so Universal would have a blockbuster for that slot.
Yeah, like I think it'll eventually come out because there's so many contractual obligations for it to come out, but like I have no hope of being good.
Yeah, because like Vin Diesel is kind of a Sylvester Stallone type figure in a way, where he will do something that gets a lot of acclaim and then he'll just trip on his own dick for a project only he wants to do. Like the most recent Vin Diesel project that has been announced is a sequel to The Last Witch Hunter
with Michael Caine.
Yeah, a bad movie.
Michael Caine's coming to retirement for it.
Yeah, a bad movie that flopped, but has done well enough on cable and on streaming over the years that they think they can make a new one for a lower budget and still get a decent chunk of change.
That just screams like a made for streaming movie. It doesn't seem like a theatrical release at all.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing. Like I remember reading the Deadline article about it being so confused about its release and about why it was being announced, and it was like, the movie has consistently done really well in secondary markets over the years, and advances in filmmaking technology mean that they think they can get it done at a lower cost than the first film.
Okay. I've seen that movie. I remember nothing about that first movie at all.
That's the thing. Like, I wanted to love that movie so much, because at the time I was all in on Vin Diesel's silliness, but it's just a big nothing of a film. Like, there's stuff in there that should work, but it just doesn't.
Yeah,
because the movie is basically Vin Diesel's Dungeons and Dragons session, so I was really hoping for it, but alas.
Meanwhile, like, Michelle Rodriguez makes a Dungeons and Dragons movie. It's actually really fucking good.
Yeah, it's like I was surprised how much I liked the Honor Among Thieves, the Dungeons and Dragons movie, because like I was a little scared for it from the marketing materials because I thought it would maybe be a bit overly glib, and there are moments I'm not huge on, but at the same time, like, it's a decent little movie, pretty entertaining. I still see people talking about that Jarnathan guy on social media sometimes.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so back on with the auteur theory stuff. So the detractors of auteur theory have always said that, like, films are a collaborative effort, so it's silly to assign like one person to be the author for it. Which, like, I understand that argument, at the same time, like, you look at something like Wes Anderson, like, clearly, like, that's a Wes Anderson movie. He gets his right production people in place there, so like, a Wes Anderson movie looks just like a Wes Anderson movie. The detractors of vulgar auteur theory, they argue that there's nothing within the original parameters of auteur theory to say that the movie has to be good, or has good intentions for it to be, or claimed to fit within the mold. Which I totally get. I absolutely agree with that 100%, that auteur theory does not mean that you have to be a good filmmaker. But I think vulgar auteur theory is a fun way to kind of recapture and reclaim some previous directors that, like, because, like, so many movies nowadays, like, with the Marvel movies, like, I hate to always harp on Marvel movies, but there's the biggest movies out there. Like, my favorite ones in the bunch are stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy with James Gunn, because it's clearly a James Gunn movie, or Iron Man 3, which is clearly a Shane Black movie. I like seeing filmmakers actually make moves within their own system, like within the system. Like, it's
like that was the thing for a long time. Sort of like the defenders of Marvel stuff would talk about how these directors would use these movies to get clout to make other stuff, but that hasn't happened as much. Like, Shane Black ended up making The Nice Guys, which underperformed, and then he made that crap ass Predator movie, and now he's like limping back with a straight to Amazon Prime movie 10 years later. Like, Ryan Coogler is really the only one who has truly delivered on that promise, because all James Gunn has done is just make more superhero movies. And some of these other directors, like Nia DaCosta,
she's escaped from it. I've seen her new movie Hedda. It played at TIFF. It's actually a lot of fun. It's not like a masterpiece or anything like that, but it's really, really fun. It comes on Amazon, I think, like next month or something like that. But it's like, it's based on a play. I forgot what the play's called.
Yeah, I remember Nia DaCosta talking about that when she was a guest on Blank Check. And it's not even that I even particularly like Nia DaCosta as a filmmaker. Like, I have only seen her Candyman movie, which I thought was bad. But you take a director like Chloe Zhao, who has only really made one film I love, but which is The Writer, but she did Eternals, and the movie underperformed. Critics were like, huh? Really? And she's only now making her new movie, which I know you saw and loved.
It's fucking incredible. Hamnet, it's so good.
Yeah, so it's like...
But like, she could have made that movie off of Nomadland, or like made the movie off whatever movie she's doing before. She did not need the Marvel clout to do so.
Yeah, it's like the argument is that these directors want to do that kind of thing, want to do that kind of big budget thing, but at the same time, like, Marvel as a system has kind of built itself off of basically like making a movie on rails with Kevin Feige as the primary author. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, like, you have the sort of like perception that Marvel has become like the slop that its detractors had always claimed it had been, which wasn't helped at all when they started making TV shows. All of them were bad, and that sort of like took away from the pipeline of the movies, which all started to suffer as a result. Like, they dragged Sam Raimi in to make the Doctor Strange sequel, and basically everyone who watched that basically just spent the whole time waiting for Raimi to break out the Raimi stuff. Like, I saw
those
the movie
two scenes are really good.
Yeah, it's like, I remember watching that movie in theaters for the first time and kind of giving it a soft pass because I liked all the Raimi stuff. But then a friend dragged me to see it again, and it turns out that when I'm not just sitting there waiting for the Raimi stuff to happen, that movie becomes really fucking boring.
It's very boring.
And
like, yeah, so like, what makes something like Resident Evil really pop out, though, is because like, there is a guy in charge of this movie franchise, and it's fascinating because it's not the people in charge of like the video game franchise. I feel like Paul W.S. Anderson got like creative control in a way that like no one else did, and he turned his iconography into his own little special beast.
Yeah, it's like each Resident Evil movie just kind of like goes into whatever direction Paul wants it to go in. Like,
which I can see why fans hate. If you're a video game fan and want to see your video game accurately depicted on the screen, you're going to hate it. But if you're willing to kind of just like let that go, and like I want to see an action movie done with some iconography I kind of like recognize, it's fun.
Yeah, it's like Resident Evil Extinction was basically just like Paul loves the Road Warrior and he wants to make one that's kind of like the Road Warrior. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, like, Final Chapter came out after Fury Road and everyone was claiming that it was biting Fury Road style, but that movie like shot before Fury Road came out. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you watch Paul's Monster Hunter movie, and that movie is definitely indebted to Fury Road to an extent.
Absolutely.
That Monster Hunter movie fucking rocks, by the way.
I've never played a second of a Monster Hunter video game. That movie, I think, is a total blast.
I have some very limited experience with playing Monster Hunter. That movie is basically what playing Monster Hunter is like.
Yeah, so with Resident Evil, like, as like a movie, so like I guess the too long didn't read comes like applying this auteur theory, vulgar auteur theory to Resident Evil. Is that like Resident Evil was very maligned when it first came out, but by the time the fifth movie, Resident Evil Retribution, arrived, like, a lot of filmmakers who are known for making lowbrow art were really elevated by the think piece age of the 2010s. And people were talking about these movies a lot more positively rather than like ripping on them. Like, these movies have always had their fans. These movies made a lot of money each time. So, but like when it came to like people discussing them on social media or writing articles about them, Resident Evil started really popping up around then as being a movie like people should really consider. So, yeah, we're pretty far into this right now, but let's get into the actual movie itself. So the video game came out in 1996 on the original PlayStation. Film rights were sold immediately after. George A. Romero wrote several drafts for the...
Yeah, it's I believe he was hired to make a film because he had directed a commercial for the game in Japan.
Correct, yeah. I think it was a commercial for Resident Evil 2 in Japan.
Yeah, and his script is out there. Like, it is.
I've not read it.
Yeah, it's in the script leak parts of the internet. I have not read the whole thing. I know it made some very interesting decisions. Like, I know it makes one of the main characters of the games a Native American farmer.
Oh my god. I know, like, there's like, I think it makes like Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine like lovers or something, which is like not in the games. And like,
but from what I've gathered, it kind of does like sort of a similar structure thing to the W.S. Anderson movie, where it's about like sort of like the general like sort of like, okay, we got guns, we got to go inside this house. Oh shit, what are these things? Are they zombies?
Yeah, I was reading with the Romero script. So they actually made a documentary called George A. Romero's Resident Evil. It came out earlier this year. It's 2 hours long, and apparently it provides like no real useful information. It's just like a very like indulgent documentary.
I get it, because like George A. Romero, the king of the zombie movie,
he like invented the genre of Night of the Living Dead. Like that's his genre.
Yeah, it's like my buddy Adam, who went to college at the University of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is where George A. Romero lived for most of his life. It's where he made a lot of his movies, and there is a lot of love for George Romero in the city of Pittsburgh, and he learned a lot about Romero's life. Like, Romero's family is making the final installment of the Dead series called Twilight of the Dead, which Mila Jovovich is actually going to star in.
Oh, that's cool.
And he was like, oh, I'm glad that George's wife is finally being able to get this one made. Mm-hmm. Because they have been talking about Twilight of the Dead forever. Mm-hmm. And speaking of Romero, I actually have Land of the Dead, which I have not seen yet, in my sort of like lead up to Halloween scary movie queue. It's a good movie. I'm really excited. I've heard good stuff about that one. Like, of the three I've seen, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn, and Day, I'd have to say that Night is my favorite. I think that one is basically a perfect movie. And I like Dawn of the Dead a fair bit. Day of the Dead, I think, has definitely gotten more shine than previously in more recent years.
Day of the Dead's my favorite of the bunch for sure. I actually got to see it in the theater earlier this year. And I saw it in theater last month. It was incredible, yeah.
Congratulations. You live in a place that gets rep screenings. Good for you.
I love it so much.
Yeah, it's like I got a buddy who lives in New York who's always going to rep screenings, and I've made like a recurring bit of just like sending him a screenshot of that scene from Orphan where Esther the orphan beats a lady to death with a hammer. I have so many versions of that image where it's just like there are more arms with more hammers. The image gets deep fried. My buddy Sin made a edit of that sort of heart locket gif that on one side is Esther's face and the other one is the hammer. I've also gotten good use of the shot where Esther has a gun.
I'm gonna rewatch that movie for Halloween. That'd be a good one.
Orphan rips, man. Like, honestly,
stupid.
I've seen vulgar auteur arguments for Yome Colette Sarah too.
Oh my god. Oh god. I have a lot of content I could potentially do with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, another thing I was reading with Romero's drafts is that because he wrote like 6 drafts, and at that point, Resident Evil 2 and 3, the video games, were already in production. So like, it went from being something to adapt that only had one installment and like no continuing lore to being now 3 video games with actual own continuity. So at that point, like, the series has evolved and changed. The material's changed. So like, Romero was out at this point, and eventually Paul W.S. Anderson gets signed on to direct, and like, he had previously made Mortal Kombat, which we talked about already, which is like the first, that along with Street Fighter, the only video game movies actually made money at this point in time. So you can see why Anderson would probably picked, because Mortal Kombat's more, violent than Street Fighter.
And also, Paul was coming off of Soldier with Kurt Russell at the time, which is a movie
never seen it.
A movie that does have its fans, but it did sort of underwhelm financially. It's not one of my favorite movies of his, but it's good, and I understand the appeal because Kurt Russell is phenomenal in it.
Mm-hmm. And also, another funny thing about this movie is because it's supposed to be a prequel, as we talked about, that's going to be canonical to the video games. The initial title is going to be Resident Evil Ground Zero. and then
let me guess why they got rid of that part of the title.
Yeah, so George W. Bush did 9/11, and then
yeah, he personally poured jet fuel onto those steel beams or whatever the loose change people believe.
Yep. Yeah, so they got rid of that. I think they kind of scrapped as being canonical to the video games too, which like, yeah. So let's get into the movie itself. So the intro pops up. We talked about this already with the introduction. Jason Isaacs reading about the Umbrella Corporation, how like 9 out of every 10 homes contains this product. So basically, it's modern Amazon, really. So the reason why it's called Resident Evil, which is a very goofy title, in Japan, the video game is called Biohazard. But due to a hardcore ban from New York City, as well as another video game called Biohazard, they came with a more unique name. They ran like an internal company contest in Japan at Capcom. Then they came up with Resident Evil because the first video game takes place in a house.
And I guess traditionally zombies are evil. Depends on who you talk to.
Yep.
I mean, they do eat people.
They do, yep. But like, that's just instinct. It's not because they're morally evil. It's what their instinct is to do.
Yeah, it's like there's a whole big monologue about that. Anyways, The next scene, basically like the opening narration is immediately followed up by the first shot of the movie starting like at ant size and then blowing up to the rest of the frame.
Yeah.
There was some talk by Anderson about why, after making all of his movies in sort of 2.35 widescreen, that he opted for 1.85, which for Resident Evil, he said is partially to sort of like more easily give a sense of claustrophobia because of a taller aspect ratio, which, yeah, that works. When the rest of the movies pivot to being more straightforward action, they go to a 239 scope, which, yeah, this has been aspect ratio talk. I think
I'm excited. I love this. Keep going.
Yeah, it's like I think a lot about aspect ratio because it's always been something that's fascinated me, and also it's something that has annoyed me on multiple occasions. Like, I'm one of those people, like, you know how like widescreen movies will get like cropped to fit like a 16 by 9 TV? Once I noticed that, I couldn't fucking stop.
Mm-hmm.
And my brain gets really specific about how I watch movies because of this.
Yeah. I saw this movie called Charlie Harper at TIFF. It's with Nick Robinson and Amelia Jones. It's basically a romantic drama kind of thing. And the very first question someone asked was what aspect ratios, and the filmmakers were just like so like on cloud nine to answer the question. So like if you ever do a Q&A and notice a film like and notice something with the aspect ratios, definitely ask the filmmakers about it, because they will love and appreciate you asking them about that.
Yeah, me just walking up being like, okay, so 1.66 to 1, interesting choice. What was the reason for that?
Yeah, something as simple as that, yeah. Because like it is something that they take a lot of consideration into, like when it comes to like, how they frame a movie.
Yeah, it's like I did community college film school pretty recently, and we all got the opportunity we got put in groups, and we used a Bolex 16mm camera to shoot stuff with, using the full frame aspect ratio, because that was what the film does, like shoot 1.33 to 1, traditional 4 to 3. Mm-hmm. And it was so fun doing that. I had so much fun framing the stuff. And it's also kind of interesting because the stuff I shot on that 16mm film, like, straight up looks like the movie Skinamarink.
Oh my god.
Anyways,
yeah, so the zoom in with the lab, we see, so we're talking like when they zoom into the lab, it's a scientist, like a big like hazmat kind of suit there. He's controlling robotic arms, moving vials around. So like some of the vials are like a green helix, some of the vials are like a blue helix. And then someone takes the blue vial and whips it against the wall, breaking it. And we see the ventilation rooms like suck it all up.
Yeah, and then it just kind of like goes into an office space that just appears to be like any other office space. Some people are in an elevator, some people are in a lab. And then everything shuts the fuck down.
Yeah, an alarm goes off, sprinklers are going off. As this is happening, the surveillance cameras are looking at people, and like, you know, their umbrella corporation surveillance cameras. You see like whoever's watching the camera seeing. So like they're clearly being monitored and watched as this is happening. At this point, a bunch of scientists crowd into the elevator, and everyone is just like, you know, freaking out in there. One of the elevators like breaks and falls, and everyone's like,
there's a lab room flooding. People are trying to like knock out the windows with an axe because the doors are locked.
In the audio commentary, Paul W.S. Anderson mentions that he was in an elevator accident as a kid, so that's how he incorporated in this movie. His kind of his fear of elevators. And as this is happening, there's a gas getting put into the lab too, which is killing much more scientists too. In the elevator, they're like between floors, so they crack the door open. They see a bunch of dead scientists. So one lady tries to escape, so she tries to like crawl her way through this little hole gap between the elevator there. And then the camera's watching it, and I think they're controlling the elevator. So the camera just like raises itself up, so you think she's gonna like, you know, get her head decapitated, and she's totally fine. And then it like slams down, and then just cuts to black.
Yeah,
great
and
death.
At this point, we get the first of this movie series' many scenes that start with Alice, played by Mila Jovovich, opening her eyes. Mm-hmm. An interesting thing I didn't realize until after I had seen a couple of these movies, Alice's name is never said in the film. You only see it in the credits. And
yeah, I was like waiting for in my notes, like, when do they call her Alice? And it's not in the movie. No, it's weird.
It's like the first time the character is referred to as Alice is the "My name is Alice. I used to work for the Umbrella Corporation" monologue that
in the
opens
sequel, right?
the second film, and then kind of becomes fully standard to the series after that.
Mm-hmm. So it's Mila Jovovich. You know, she's blonde, naked, she's beautiful. and she's waking up in a shower in a very fancy bathroom. And she doesn't really know where she is. She's like doe-eyed, like looks like a deer in the headlights. She looks in a mirror. She's confused by who she is. She has amnesia, clearly. We get little cuts to some flashbacks. The flashback's a bit desaturated, and so she's trying to remember who she is and such.
But yeah, she walks through the bedroom. There's a dress put out for her. There's a handwritten note that she does her own handwriting to test if it's her. And her handwriting, that is a very interesting way of writing a T.
Yeah.
Like, did you notice that?
It's weird, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that really fancy medieval text, you know? I mean, I guess you get taught to write different because, like, she was born in Ukraine and grew up in Eastern Europe.
Soviet Union, yeah.
And then she, like, goes through the drawers and finds one that has guns in it.
Mm-hmm. Which doesn't come back.
Yeah, it's just like, wait a fucking minute, what are these guns doing here? Well, I don't know the password to get to these guns so well.
But, like, a bunch of guns with, like, a password, like, a lock on it, that's very much a video game thing. Like, it's weird it doesn't come back at all. So, she puts on this red cocktail dress that was, like, laid out for her, puts on these very, very tall black boots, like she's going to go to a concert.
God, that look is fucking incredible.
It's good.
That look still would slay to this day.
Mm-hmm. Like, especially later on when she gets the leather jacket.
Like, if Mila Jovovich just, like, went to an event in London and walked a red carpet wearing that, everyone would lose their fucking shit.
Exactly, yeah. Like, it looks really good.
Like, she could go to the Met Gala wearing that and everyone would be like, oh, slay queen.
Yeah. So she's wandering around this mansion, and actually they filmed this movie in Berlin. And this mansion was actually an old Nazi barrack that had been captured by the Soviets. And oftentimes, like, you know, the actors would be on set there and, like, see, like, you know, Nazi swastikas, like, engraved places, and they'd all see, like, Soviet, like, hammer and sickles, like, engraved over them and stuff after the Soviets took it over. Jovovich also claims that she saw some beware of mines signs, like landmines, around the place they were filming too.
Yeah, given that Paul W.S. Anderson doesn't exactly have a spotless record as far as on-set safety goes, they got lucky.
Yeah, because that was that Resident Evil 6, the final chapter.
Yeah, that was the very last one, which was shot on the lowest budget in South Africa.
Yeah,
and
Mila Jovovich's stunt double lost her arm.
Someone died after being crushed due to a crane malfunction, and Mila's stunt double due to a last-minute camera change by Anderson that hadn't been coordinated to the rest of the crew. The stunt double ended up having to get her arm amputated and won a big lawsuit against Anderson and the film's other producers.
Yeah,
So, as much as I love this man's filmmaking and I love Mila Jovovich, I am hesitant to necessarily say he's a good person.
Yeah, set stories like that are awful to hear about.
He's made 2 movies since, and if any horrifying crew accidents have happened, they were not publicized.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave Bautista was willing to work with him, so Dave Bautista, famously a guy who, if he hates somebody, he will be very open about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, I'm not going to, say Paul is a good person or anything, but I am going to say that as far as safety goes, maybe ask some questions if you're going to work with him.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. She runs into some generic looking white dude with gelled hair.
I'm gonna be real, I forgot that guy's name. I just started calling him Thick Neck Nick.
Yeah. So the character's name is Matt Addison. He's played by Eric Mabius. I can't think. This guy looks like Angel from Buffy. He looks like David Boreanaz.
I think David Boreanaz was supposed to be in the movie.
He was supposed to play this guy, yeah.
And instead they cast a guy, and instead they cast Thick Neck Nick. Got it.
Yeah. So this guy's an ugly Betty, but nothing else really. This guy's a nothing of a character.
I mean, I'm sure he still gets decent residual checks. Ugly Betty ran for how many years?
Only 3 or 4, I think. Yeah, but still, that was when you actually get residuals from TV shows.
Yeah, that's when people actually got paid.
Yeah. And the problem with this Matt guy is that every one of these white guys looks the exact same in this movie. It's really hard to tell them apart.
Yeah, it's there's one of the... Okay, so after Thick Neck Nick shows up, the Marco Beltrami and Marilyn Manson score kicks in.
It goes so hard.
Yeah, it's like noted terrible person Marilyn Manson, obviously, but unfortunately there are a couple Marilyn Manson songs I really enjoy, and like his contributions to this soundtrack are actually really fun and interesting. There's
and
actually
it's fun being this far away from Resident Evil, like looking at like the new metal music of it all is so much fun because
it's like this was the era where music from and inspired by the film soundtracks reigned supreme, and the first 3 Resident Evil films all had these song soundtracks, and I have the track list for the Resident Evil song soundtrack pulled up right now.
Okay,
the movie,
go ahead.
There are cuts from the score in there. The Red Queen theme by Beltrami. All of the Marilyn Manson cuts for the score are in here. You also have a Marilyn Manson solo track called "The Fight Song" that was remixed by Slipknot,
That's not the same fight song that Hillary Clinton used for her campaign.
Fuck you. But yeah, Slipknot is the very first song that plays after the movie cuts to credits, the song My Plagues, a new mix apparently done for the film. After that is a song by the band Coal Chamber, who were kind of like C tier in the new metal boom. This is probably the only Coal Chamber song I've ever heard. And then after that is a different mix of a song by the band Fear Factory, who are still pretty well respected. Other acts on the soundtrack, the Crystal Method, who I think are an electronic group.
Oh yeah. They were pretty big around that time.
Edema, who are like sort of like a band I know the name of, but nothing else. Static X, who are still going and still touring pretty well, even after their singer Wayne Static passed away. Rammstein, who are still very popular. I could only find this soundtrack's track list on a Rammstein fan wiki. A song by Depeche Mode, a famous music nerd's favorite band. Not a band I have delved deep into, though. A lot of the friends of mine who are like super big into like Nine Inch Nails and Typo Negative and shit, they all love Depeche Mode. A song by Il Nino, who were a metal band. I think they got a Grammy nomination at one point, and that was kind of the height of their career. A remix of Dig by Mudvayne, one of the new metal classics. In metal circles, Dig is a bit of a meme because of the opening bass line, specifically the phonetic pronunciation of the bass line, burr ding. A Method Man song, the rapper Method Man.
Nice.
Saliva, who were another kind of like B tier hard rock new metal band. They had one fairly big hit that still gets played on rock radio, Click Click Boom, and their singer Josie Scott was on the lead single for the Spider-Man soundtrack with Chad Kroeger.
Oh, yes, a hero save me.
Save us, not gonna stand here and wait. And then there's something by a band I've never heard of called 5.0, and then it's back to the score. Like, if I had to like rank the movies based on like, actually, you know what? I'll save that for future episodes. Anyways, this was the golden era of the song soundtrack. We were all a year away from the release of the best song soundtrack of all time, which was the Daredevil soundtrack.
Oh, yeah, I had that one.
Yeah, Daredevil soundtrack fucking rules. There was also, like, Wind Up Records did it, which was a fairly prominent hard rock label for a while. They did a couple Marvel movie soundtracks around that period. They did one for that Thomas Jane Punisher movie that kind of whipped. There was one for the first Fantastic Four. I don't know if Wind Up Records handled the soundtracks for the Raimi Spider-Man movies, but those all had notable soundtracks.
I love the Spider-Man soundtracks so much.
Yeah, it's like I saw Dashboard Confessional live a couple years ago, and Vindicated was the second to last song played. And
nice.
Chris Carrabba did a whole bit about how Tobey Maguire called him and said, "We're bringing back your song."
Spider-Man 2 is my favorite superhero movie. Like, that is just like, and that soundtrack really adds to it too. Like,
for me, it's
end credits.
For me, it's one that does have a song soundtrack, but in a completely different method. My favorite superhero movie is Batman '89.
The Prince soundtrack.
Yeah, but the Prince soundtrack.
Yeah.
But yeah, soldiers just burst into the house. The main soldier, played by British character actor Colin Salmon, who has an incredible voice and an incredible face.
Such a good voice. Yeah, I had that in my notes too. Like, he has a very good.
He starts talking to Jovovich, demanding a report, and it's
"What's your report, soldier?" Yeah. His name is James Shade.
God, Shade is my middle name. Fun fact, when you legally change your name in the United States, whether it's your first or your last name, you can change your middle name for free.
Nice.
So that is how I legally became Maeve Shade, last name redacted.
Nice.
But yeah, a different soldier, I forget who. I think it's either the one who really looks like David Boreanaz or JD, the Latino soldier.
Yeah.
Is like, she's still suffering the side effects of the defense mechanisms.
Yeah, so it turns out this, so we find out, like, at some point that the defense mechanism is that there's some gas that was vented in to knock people out, and the side effect is amnesia. So, also...
Okay, so it looks like, I'm pretty sure it was Martin Cruz as the Kaplan character, who's kind of the tech guy. Yeah,
Kaplan is what I refer to in the notes as the other guy. He's the other notable white guy in this movie.
Yeah, let's see. Martin Cruz, did he do anything? Wow. His very next movie 3 years later was the Dead or Alive movie.
Oof, that movie's very bad.
Yeah, and he appears to mostly be a theater actor.
Yeah. Oh, and Colin Salmon, he's also he's in a bunch of the Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies. He's like one of the MI6, he's like M's, like Judi Dench's underling. But also part of this crew too is Michelle Rodriguez as Rain Ocampo.
Yeah, Michelle Rodriguez is one of my favorite people. Like, something Michelle Rodriguez and Mila Jovovich kind of have in common is that they play so many, like, steely hard asses on film, but they are super bubbly and funny in person.
Yeah.
I have a friend who met Michelle Rodriguez when he was working for, like, Good Morning America or The Today Show or whatever. And he said that Michelle Rodriguez was maybe the single most horny person he had ever met. She apparently spent the entire time hitting on one of his fellow PAs.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Michelle Rodriguez is maybe Hollywood's most bisexual human being.
Yeah, I remember because I'm a huge Lost fan, so I remember like hearing like all the stories in the Lost part, like, oh, like Michelle Rodriguez, is she gay or not? Like, yeah, and she ended up being bisexual, and like, yeah, but in her movies, like she truly is an actress. Like, I do like her presence in movies. She has one mode, but I think her one mode is pretty entertaining. I think within that mode, she's able to do a lot with it.
Yeah, and she's been in a lot of movies I really like, and I always enjoy seeing her in those movies. Like, I rewatched Avatar pretty recently. She's very good in that first Avatar movie, though she's very much a supporting role.
We also have to say that, speaking of Avatar, is that James Cameron said that Resident Evil is one of his guilty pleasure movies.
Yeah, it's like James Cameron was also kind of like, he was asked about Alien vs. Predator, which was Paul W.S. Anderson's next directorial effort. The thing is, Cameron and Ridley had been apparently trying to get something in the works to like collaborate on an Alien project, but they both kind of dropped it when Alien vs. Predator was announced. And Cameron was like, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was better than 3. I thought it was better than Resurrection, which I'll give him it's better than Resurrection, but Alien... This was back when it was cool to shit on Alien 3,
Yeah.
Nowadays, Alien 3 is, I think, fully reclaimed, including by me. I think that movie is great.
It's good, yeah. And, like, so, like, also, like, that's another reason why people didn't like Paul W.S. Anderson as well, because in people's minds, he ruined Mortal Kombat, he ruined Resident Evil, he ruined Alien, he ruined Predator. So here's a guy that people thought, like, does not understand the works at all, but, like, he makes fun action movies. So, like, if you're looking for a fun action movie, those are fine. But, like, if you're looking for, like, the best adaptation ever to turn your video game into cinematic art, like, no one's going to be able to do that. Like,
yeah, and also, if you ask me, like, the thing that I think if you asked a lot of video game fans what they'd want out of a film adaptation, they would say something along the lines of, just take the story from the game and film it. And the issue with this is that a lot of video game stories are basically just like a very generic film stories where the hook is that you are playing them. That is kind of why an Uncharted movie was always sort of like going to be kind of an artistic failure, because you can make a fun adventure movie, but because Uncharted is pulling so much from stuff like the Tintin comics and the Indiana Jones movies, if any way of making an Uncharted movie is just going to feel incredibly derivative of these other things that Uncharted was based on, but was able to get away with in video game form because of the interactive element. That is why the best video game movies are the ones that kind of stray from it. It's like why the only big Hollywood attempt at Pokemon was Detective Pikachu, because you kind of can't do the standard Pokemon story in film form without it feeling incredibly, without either making it episodic, which is why Pokemon works best in TV, as far as adaptation goes, or just boring as fucking shit. It's why you can't make a live-action Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie, for example.
Yeah, like, it's the reason why like I think that that Tomb Raider movie, The Leash of a Candor, I like that one a lot, because it was like pretty much what Uncharted should have been, which is like, we're just doing a basic action adventure. And like,
I kind of mess with that. I kind of mess with that Tomb Raider movie a little bit.
Yeah, because it is just like the game is based on itself. The Tomb Raider reboot from like 2013 is pretty much just it's very cinematic anyway, so they pretty much just took that game, put it into movie form. Simple as that. But like Resident Evil as a video game, it's a lot of like trying to get a key in one place, go from like one hallway to another, backtracking a lot, conserving ammo, solving puzzles, reading notes. Like, it's not very cinematic at all. And they tried out so after they made all these live action movies, they tried rebooting Resident Evil with a movie called Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, where they pretty much try to put Resident Evil 1 video game's plot with Resident Evil 2's video game plot into one thing, and it's very bad.
Yeah, it's like, I didn't see that movie because I was kind of, as a fan of the Mila Jovovich movies, I was offended at its existence. But it also, like, from the marketing, seemed very sweaty. Like, it seemed very, like, this is clearly so we can keep the rights. And also just seemed to be like, we can pander to the gamers. Let's pander to the gamers. Like, I remember, like, one of the actors going on fucking Rooster Teeth to play some of the Resident Evil games and being like, yeah, we recreated this from the movie. Yeah, we recreated this from the movie. Yeah, we recreated this from the movie. And it's like, when you are sending your actors to goddamn Austin, Texas to do stuff with Rooster Teeth, you are like, kind of, especially like 2021 Rooster Teeth, when it's kind of like in
on the way
decline.
Out,
when it's like in the way out, it's like, what are you doing, man? You are cooked. You are done. You are finished.
And listen to the Paul W.S. Anderson, the audio commentary of this movie. What he was adapting to with this is like, it is a lot of people walking down hallways, but also like, he's like, Resident Evil has fixed camera angles. So like, he tried to do the weird camera angles in this movie, which he does a lot in this movie, which kind of looks pretty interesting at points. A lot of like the designs are from the game too, so he was adapting a lot of things from the game. So it's not like he was completely ignoring the text. It's just that he was taking the basic elements like camera angles, designs, character motivations, and just keeping Umbrella Corporation as like an evil institution, like putting those in there and not being beholden to like, oh well, like at the 3/4 mark, that's when like Jill Valentine gave this key to Barry Burton kind of thing. Well, because that's kind of boring.
Yeah, and like something interesting that happens with the Umbrella Corporation over the thing of the movies is that the movies get a very anti-corporate text that even when done with the subtlety of dropping an anvil on it, is still kind of like very like, look, we kind of live in a corporation driven dystopia already. So it's very easy to look at these movies and be like, they predict the future, which is obviously silly. But also, like, even in the dumbest, worst parts of these movies, like the Umbrella Corporation being the baddies and how cartoonishly evil we are, we kind of do live in an era where basically a lot of the biggest companies in the world are just straight up doing this shit. Maybe they aren't developing zombies, but they're doing all sorts of other crazy shit that shouldn't be fucking done.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, and it wouldn't surprise me if they do develop zombies someday.
Yeah, it's like, what's that tweet that everyone talks about? Like, we created
the Torment Nexus.
Yeah, we created the Torment Nexus from the classic book. Don't create the Torment Nexus.
Yeah,
like. That is just Silicon Valley's modus operandi at this point.
And like, also great, like, evil corporation that pops in the next scene. So they go downstairs in the mansion there, and they find a train station. So like the train takes you someplace. So they get onto the train, and they find another guy with amnesia. And
James Spence, played by James Purefoy. James Purefoy is one of those guys who was almost a star a couple times. Like, he was originally cast as V for Vendetta, and I guess
he was on the show Rome.
Yeah, I guess very late in production on V for Vendetta. Like, he had done a lot of he left 6 weeks into filming, and some of the bits in the movie are just Purefoy's actions that were dubbed over, but he was replaced by Hugo Weaving, who is pretty magnificent in that movie. So
yeah, so like this amnesiac, so like Mila has a flashback when she touches him, and like you know, they have some sort of connection. She has a flashback where it's like, oh, I'm married to this guy. But she looks at the wedding ring and says underneath, this is property of Umbrella Corporation.
Yeah, also, like, I just looked at James Purefoy's filmography. He's going to be in that fucking Masters of the Universe movie that's coming out next year.
Oh my god.
That movie, there have been attempts at making a Masters of the Universe movie for like 15 years at this point. And the director is noted Nepo baby Travis Knight. And the cast is... like, I like some of these actors, but they got Jared Leto playing Skeletor, so it's doomed.
Do they have Gwildor in it?
Who?
Gwildor was in the, he's like a little like dwarf like Yoda thing in the Masters of the Universe movie from the 80s. I think he's an original character to that movie, but he is like such an over-the-top, like ridiculous character.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it, but they do... But I am seeing Alison Brie as Professor Evelyn Powers / Evil Lynn, a dastardly sorceress and Skeletor's lieutenant who poses undercover as a professor at Adams College. So, yeah, they're kind of doing the thing. I guess the thing is that He-Man is human, half whatever the fuck his dad is, Eternia or whatever, and crash-landed on Earth, and 2 decades later he goes back to whatever the fuck... This sounds stupid.
It's He-Man. He-Man's always been stupid.
Yeah, this just kind of sounds like...
like, the great thing
it's
with
like
the He-Man
a lot of the
movie...
movies... Like, a lot of blockbusters that are in development for, like, 15 to 20 years, the final script is always just a mishmash of whatever 15 different takes happened before that.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if this was one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because there have been so many different directors and so many different actors attached to this. Like, apparently, like, they were trying to make this a vehicle for Kellen Lutz for a while from Twilight.
Oh my god, him? Ew.
I mean, I love the Twilight movies, and
Same,
I think Lutz
like...
I think Lutz is pretty fun in that as a sort of like doofy lunkhead, and he's had some like pretty fun comedy roles over the years, but the attempt at making him an action boy did not really work.
It didn't work for Taylor Lautner either.
Yeah, Lautner, honestly, I kind of envy Lautner's life because he just has his money, he just hangs out with his family.
Yeah, I guess, like, you know, be friends with Taylor Swift, too, like, get to be in her videos, like...
Yeah, he's, like, known as Taylor's one good ex.
Yeah.
and his wife, who is, like, a registered nurse, has, like, a bunch of Instagram followers and does brand deals pretty much entirely because she is married to Taylor Lautner.
Mm-hmm.
Lautner did his first movie in ages a few years ago, like a Netflix movie that was literally about what Sean Payton did when he was suspended from coaching in the NFL.
Oh, is that a Kevin James movie?
Yep, Kevin James plays the real Sean Payton, coaching his son's middle school football team after being suspended.
Suspended for putting bounties on players. He should have been in jail, like, not suspended. Like, fuck that guy. Fuck the Saints.
Yeah, my mom is a Saints fan. My mom's family are Saints fans.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Look, my dad got to me first, which is why I am a fan of the Indianapolis Colts, an organization that has never embarrassed me, not once.
Hey, they're 3-1 as of recording.
Yeah, we'll see how that keeps going. Like, for listeners, we're in the same fantasy football server, and when I was still kind of trying to be reserved after week 1 where the Colts won by 25 points, like, people actually got mad at me for not being happy that my team won by 25 points. So I decided to try and be a little bit more optimistic, and then I fully drank the hopium after week 2. And, like, look, I can tear apart the Colts' performance in that game against the Rams all I want, but at the same time, like, losing to the Rams, like, the Rams are a good team. Mm-hmm. There is kind of no shame in losing to the Rams because the Rams are a good team. Anyways, back to movies.
Yeah, so in this train, they get a description where they're going. So they're like 2,200 feet below the surface, and they're going to a laboratory complex called the Hive, which is ran by the Umbrella Corporation. So the mansion is a front...
a top secret research science facility that creates the bioweapons.
Yeah, so like the mansion is a front. That's how people get to the research station from there. They basically live down there. So this Hive is all computer controlled, and...
There's a really fun little CGI map that keeps showing up, and throughout
yeah,
the
it looks
movies,
like It looks like the Metroid Prime map in the game there, so it's like a cool 3D kind of thing.
Yeah, looks like a very low poly drill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so unfortunately at this point in the movie, it's a lot of them just walking down various hallways, so kind of lose a lot of the atmosphere the mansion had.
But there's also a couple still pretty cool creepy images, like the flooded lab with the water dripping out of a few axe holes and the corpse of that one lady floating up,
Yeah, and because they filmed this in Berlin, and they used real underground railway stations that were being refurbished at the time, so they use real sets a lot of the time too for these hallways, which is kind of better. So we also learned from Colin Salmon that the hive is automated by a computer system called the Red Queen. And the Red Queen detected a breach at the start of the film, and that's why she killed everyone off to prevent this virus from leaking out.
And if you couldn't tell at this point by the main character being named Alice and there being an AI called the Red Queen, this movie has a couple allusions to the hit 2016 film Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Yeah, but it's over the top, the Alice in
Wonderland. Yeah, but speaking of, the way they get from the mansion to the train is literally a door masquerading as a mirror.
Yeah.
But who cares about subtlety? It's a movie based on a video game. They go into an area that they think is a dining room, but is actually a bunch of weird cages. And then after that, a few of them go to while Michelle Rodriguez, the JD character, who is played by some guy who cares? They stand behind to take watch over Thick Neck Nick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then we get to a computer setup, a cool reflective hallway that leads to the sort of big computer tower that the Red Queen lives in.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get one of the coolest fucking things ever, which is that the hallway has lasers in it.
Yeah, so the door closes behind them, so it's Colin Salmon and a few soldiers stuck inside.
Yeah, it's like a Red Queen defense mechanism, which is metal as shit. The Marilyn Manson music just starts up again and goes full throttle. Yeah. Whenever the Marilyn Manson score comes up, it just sort of takes over the entire sound mix.
Mm-hmm. So the laser comes by straight down the hallway, and it cuts off one guy's fingers, and a woman who's standing there.
The medic lady's entire head.
Yeah, so they think she's okay, but then she's just standing there, no response, and her head just slides right off of her neck. So tons of people are freaking the fuck out. People are trying to use the computer to open the door as fast as they can. It's not working. So another laser pops up. They're ready to jump over it. The laser starts very low, and as they jump to dodge it, the laser just raises right up and cuts the guy right in half.
Yeah, and then we get to it's just Colin Salmon, and he manages to avoid a laser high up by sort of laying himself flat against the ceiling, but it cuts his knife, and that's super cool. And then the last laser just turns into a grid covering the entire area, and it makes him into Colin Salmon cutlets.
Yeah, he says oh shit, goes right through him, and we get this one shot. It's
and it goes straight through his eye too.
Yeah, so we get the shot. So it's you see half of his head there, and you see red marks going across his face.
The focus racks to the background where Alice is looking through the hallway door as
horrified.
His body starts falling into chunks.
But he has one great part where you see some white goo coming out of his eyeball, and before his whole body starts slipping apart. It just slide. All the cubes that his body's become just start falling apart, and we see in reflection in the background just a body of little cubes discussing little bits of flesh there. This scene is so good that they actually have it in Resident Evil 4, the video game. They actually adapt the scene for the game too as a QuickTime event, which is really awesome.
Yeah, because Laser Grid Hallway fucking rocks. And,
yeah, it's so cool.
And it becomes a recurring thing in some of the later movies too.
Yeah. And unfortunately, without Colin Salmon, it's just a lot of white guys that are the exact same. Can't tell them apart. I wish they...
It's the Amnesia crew, Alice and James Purefoy, and the Kaplan character, who is the one who looks the most like Angel from Buffy.
Yeah. No, Matt's the one that looks like Angel from Buffy, the cop guy.
No. Matt, Thick Neck Nick looks way too doofy to be Angel from Buffy. He
has the hair, though. He has the hair.
He has the hair, but his face looks like he's always sort of being where did I put my phone?
Yeah.
And he looks slightly perturbed about it, he doesn't remember where he put his Hot Pockets.
Yeah. Either way, these guys just look all the exact same, and it's kind of unfortunate because like Mila Jovovich has a great look to her, and Michelle Rodriguez has a great look to her. They look very distinct. They act very distinct. Everyone else kind of looks
and then you have
same.
James Purefoy, who's mostly wearing the gray shirt, and then you have like after this, it's just two army people: JD and Kaplan, who's the tech guy. Mm-hmm. And Kaplan and Alice, they take out the Red Queen, who shows up as a computer hologram of a little girl
with a very creepy, like, British accent. It's like, oh, don't like, come in here.
There's a throwaway line that it's like, oh, the programmer made her look like his daughter.
Yeah, it's not actually that creepy. It's just kind of more goofy looking.
Yeah, but you're all going to die down here.
Yeah, sounds like Hermione, like. And it's like Mila Jovovich was saying that initially got an American actress to voice this girl, but like she was saying her lines like I'm a very bad girl, and Mila thought like it sounded very pornographic, so they switched over to a British girl, which is probably a good thing to do if like you think this young child is coming across too sexy in the line readings.
Yeah, it's like that is a very like American problem to have.
Yeah,
But
the Red Queen basically just tells them to fuck off, like, you know, don't come in here because, like, you know,
it's like
a container place.
It's like it's very dangerous, you know. Well, but yeah, everything reboots, and at this point, the electric reboot causes all the doors that are holding the zombies away to open. And
so, now like 39 minutes into the movie and like an hour plus into our podcast, we actually run into a zombie for the first time.
Yeah, and like the zombies do change over the course of the Resident Evil movies because the perception of zombies in the pop culture kind of changes.
Yeah.
Like the Resident Evil franchise is one of the things credited with bringing back sort of zombies into the popular American consciousness after some time where they just weren't as big of a cultural deal. Like I think when the slasher movie sort of like became the pinnacle of horror for a bit in the 80s and the 90s, the zombies kind of fell by the wayside with a few exceptions. But like a little bit after this Resident Evil movie comes out, 28 Days Later comes out, which is
the fast zombies.
Yeah, and then soon after 28 Days Later, the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead remake drops, and that one also has fast zombies in it. Mm-hmm. And they keep with the slow zombies for 2 more films, and then for Resident Evil Afterlife, they go to the fast zombies.
So the first zombie that pops up, Michelle Rodriguez thinks it's a survivor because no one knows what a zombie is in this world, and the zombie takes a big chomp out of her hand. And it's the first of many times that Michelle Rodriguez gets bit in this movie.
Yeah, the funny thing I'm noticing right now is that a lot of the actors credited as zombies are just like Dr. Blank, and it's all a color. The zombies are like Mr. Gray, Mr. Green, Miss Black, Dr. Green, Dr. Blue, Dr. Brown. Like, I guess based on eye color.
Mm-hmm. And they also they cast dancers to play the zombies because they wanted people who knew how to like.
Yeah, because it's like very strict choreographed zombie movements. So
the zombie actually look pretty good. I don't think they linger on the zombies enough. It's a lot of fast cutting at this point because the commandos are all like gunning down the zombies at this point in time. So they're all shooting a lot.
Yeah, Paul's a big fan of quick cutting. Like there's a bit on his Resident Evil Apocalypse commentary where he's like, "All right, come on, leave our fast cut movie alone."
More zombies are arriving. Michelle Rodriguez snaps a zombie's neck, which is awesome. But they're kind of confused by why they're not dying.
It's like they're shooting them and whatnot, but it doesn't really seem to be stopping their movements. Every character gets a little bit with a zombie. Like there's the bit where James Purefoy can't open a door to try and get out because he doesn't have the code. Mm-hmm. Kaplan tries to put in a code, but he keeps trying to rush it. He's feeling like overwhelmed by the situation because he took the deaths in the laser hallway pretty hard. Mm-hmm. And then JD comes in to put in the code. The door opens. There are more zombies that pull in JD, which is a direct homage to Day of the Dead, which is awesome. Like he gets fucked up. This movie's not rated R. It's not rated NC-17. So you see a lot of people get eaten a ton. But it's pretty shitty way to go. So at this point, everyone's kind of scattered around. So Alice is in a different room. She gets to a kennel by herself, and there's some cages Zombie
there.
Dogs.
Some dogs have clearly bitten their way out of the cages. And here's where Alice starts becoming the Alice I know and love, because up to this point, she's basically just like a deer in the headlights. She does not look very exciting to look at. But as she's chased by dogs, she closes the door behind her. She's in a room with a zombie, and she instinctively jumps and roundhouse kicks the zombie in the face.
Then you get flashbacks being like, you are a highly trained security operative who knows all the fighting.
And it's very much like the whoa, I know Kung Fu moment from The Matrix. And
then she slowly goes, because she doesn't want to like risk the zombie being dead, to take the gun, and then she has to fight the zombie dog. Mm-hmm. Apparently the zombie dogs kept eating their own makeup.
Yeah. Because they're using like bits of meat and stuff on them. And like...
yeah. And there's like a little bit of CG touching up done to like one of the dogs to like make the deterioration look kind of like more more specific. But yeah, Alice has to fight a lot of dogs. I don't remember if there was the American Humane Society thing in the credits, but I have to assume there was.
Yeah,
and, I have to assume no dogs actually got hurt.
At one point, so there's a dog jumping through a window. Apparently, it was a real dog that got to jump through a window.
Yeah, I hope that dog got lots of treats and pets.
Yeah, same. So there's a lot of zombie dogs.
Speaking of, do we have the McCluskey report on Resident Evil?
She fell asleep right in front of the subwoofer. Actually, but that movie going pretty loud too. So she like slept with the new metal.
God, that's the fucking life.
Yeah. So like, there's a lot of zombie dogs coming in. She's like trying to fight them, shoots them with a gun. Then she does this awesome kick where she jumps off a wall and kicks in the face.
Yeah, I'm seeing here that Jovovich's martial arts training was at least started under Robin Shou, who was Liu Kang in Paul W.S. Anderson's Mortal Kombat movie.
Mm-hmm. And like the rest of this franchise basically becomes her doing fight scenes like this, which is awesome because like, again, like this movie's fine. I like the later movies, except for the second one, a lot more because I like the action movies that they become. And yeah, you get basically a taste of what these movies are, which is just Milla Jovovich as Alice doing very, very cool things. And yeah, so then after this, we cut back to we see Matt there. He's trying to find his sister, apparently, and it turns out his sister is a zombie.
Yeah, but also it turns out that Thick Neck Nick and his sister are part of like some sort of like anti-corporate like whistleblower collective. I'm just kind of imagining them being a part of like the leftist army in a movie I haven't seen yet, one battle after another. I actually see it tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, fantastic movie. It's phenomenal. You'll like it.
Yeah, I've heard. But yeah, basically like the Thick Neck Nick then starts talking to Alice after Alice kills his zombie sister, being like, she had a contact in the hive, but the contact had to have betrayed her because she's a zombie now. We were trying to take down the Umbrella Corporation because the Umbrella Corporation fucking sucks, which, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, Alice has a flashback that reveals that she was Thick Neck Nick's sister's Umbrella contact, and she doesn't know if she was the one who betrayed her or not, but she starts feeling guilt regardless. Mm-hmm. And then everyone just kind of meets up with each other again. They're like counting ammo, and Michelle Rodriguez's Rain is clearly blaming Kaplan for all the zombies.
And like they talk to the Red Queen again. The Red Queen tells them the zombification.
They reboot the Red Queen, and they're like, wait a minute, where'd the fucking laser bodies go?
Yeah, good point. And so Red Queen tells them the zombification process. They have like no intelligence. These zombies, they just have a need to feed. So it's the T virus that's turning them into zombies.
As the need to feed thing comes up, we see that JD is a zombie now. Mm-hmm. Sucks for him.
And we keep getting, as this is happening, we keep getting shown Michelle Rodriguez's hand to imply that she's going to become a zombie eventually and die. Now we get to, which is always the worst part in every Resident Evil game, where they go to the sewers. And it's like a very sewery part. It was like,
yeah, and they're just walking around, and then the zombies are like, "Oh, hey, food!"
Yeah. So
another action bit happens. Michelle Rodriguez gets bit again. Kaplan gets bit a few times. Mm-hmm. So at this point, they leave. Kaplan is like, "Hey, leave me behind in the sewers." They give Kaplan a gun with one bullet in it, and you think he's going to shoot himself, but he really just shot a zombie.
The best part of the sequence, though, is when Milla Jovovich grabs a pipe, pulls herself up, and snaps the zombie's neck with her thighs.
Yeah, and a bit that always sticks with me is Michelle Rodriguez just letting blood drip from a wound onto some of the zombies who are just like basically people just trying to get the water in Fury Road, but
yeah, and turns into a bit of a feeding frenzy, which is almost like taunting them, but knowing this is what her fate's going to be. It's actually a really nice scene for her.
Yeah, and then after that, like, Alice gets another flashback and remembers that there is actually a cure for the T virus, which is the zombie-causing virus.
Mm-hmm.
She reveals to Thick Neck Nick that she was her sister's contact, and Thick Neck Nick is like, "So you did betray her."
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, it's not like Thick Neck Nick has a particularly great opinion of the Umbrella Corporation, which means he probably doesn't have a great opinion of people who work for them, which most of them are just trying to pay rent, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But to be fair, if you are like a trained military operative working for them, you are allowed to have a little bit more sort of skepticism.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they tried to get the cure, but then James Purefoy, his amnesia ends, and he remembers that he was the one who betrayed everybody.
It's funny, that scene, because like it's like, you know, the little flashback we see is like him with like a distance microphone recording device, like spying them across the courtyard.
Listening to like Alice just talking to Thick Neck Nick's sister, like somewhere in a field surrounding the mansion, being like, "I will get you codes if you promise to take Umbrella down." Which that ain't much payment, man. Yeah. But yeah, he then has a night of hot sex with Mila Jovovich, then gets up, goes down to the thing, grabs the T virus and the antivirus, throws a different sample of the T virus to release it to everybody for reasons, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then he pulls a gun on everybody and was like, "I was the one who betrayed you." And then you get to hear his accent slip a little bit because he's like, "That bitch of a computer." And he sounds like he's trying to hide the British accent, but it sounds like he's from Boston.
Mm-hmm. And it's like he's trying to do typical villain kind of bullshit, where it's like, you're like, "Oh, like this is my motivation. My motivations are pure."
Yeah, and he's like, the cure is on the train. It was there the whole time.
Yeah, that's not great.
And then the water zombie from earlier shows up and bites him,
which is good. Gets his comeuppance just because he's yapping too much, and so he gets mad and like he leaves the room. Then he goes to the next. He then goes runs off to go get the vaccine and inject himself with it.
And then we see the liquor.
The liquor, yeah.
Yeah, the liquor is apparently a monster from the games.
Yeah, it's a monster. It starts off in Resident Evil 2. It pops up there, and like it shows up the exact same ways it does in this movie, where it's like you initially see it pop up on the ceiling there, and then like it goes down and like, starts eating him. The cool thing with the liquor in the games is that the liquor is has no eyes, so it can't see you, so you have to be very quiet in the areas. So like if you're trying to run past zombies and stuff, you actually can't run past it because you'll alert the liquor.
Yeah, but like the fun thing with the liquor is that like obviously like in full body shots it is kind of primitive CGI, like on not too big a budget, but there's some really cool practical close-up shots that get used of
these animatronics for it looks really awesome when it's the close-up.
Yeah, but I have to imagine that you don't see the animatronics for like full body motion because they're asking more out of the liquor's actions than can be done with done practically on that budget.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And it's also kind of revealed you have the Red Queen's "I've been a bad girl" line, and it was revealed that she basically knew the liquor existed the whole time. She was just saving it till the end so that they would die and the T virus wouldn't get out. Because that's still kind of what the Red Queen's whole deal is. She shut down everything because she couldn't allow the virus to escape the hive. And she's like, "I will let you out if you kill Michelle Rodriguez because she's infected." Yeah. And
I would just kill her.
Yeah, and Michelle Rodriguez is like, "Come on, y'all, just kill me."
Like, "Oh, but she's our friend. We met her an hour ago."
Like to be fair though, you fight some zombies with somebody, you escape zombies with somebody. That's a bond.
I would rather just like kill that friend and survive myself, because you know how awful it's going to be just to die.
Yeah, but they're very mad at the Red Queen because they don't trust her. Which, to be fair, yeah. And then, but instead of killing Michelle Rodriguez, Mila Jovovich takes her anger out on a TV screen.
He takes an axe to a monitor instead.
Yeah, and then the Red Queen gets fried, and she's like, "Wait, did killing that screen do it?" And then it's revealed that Kaplan caught up and killed the Red Queen.
Yeah, like it's crazy that Kaplan just like survived first off and like was able to make it there in time. Like,
and
it's kind of like it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, but like, you think I watch these movies for realism?
True, yeah.
If I wanted realism, I'd finally start watching Mike Leigh movies.
Yeah.
Which I should probably do that at some point.
I've only seen Hard Truths. It's the only one I've seen, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I have a copy of Happy Go Lucky in my watch pile of unwatched movies, so one of these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, they get to the platform, they get the cure, they shoot up Kaplan with the cure, and they're going to shoot up Rain with the cure, but then they do that, but Rain is dead. And at one point the Red Queen is like, with how long she's been bitten for, there's no guarantee it would work.
Yeah.
And so, that comes back later when Rain turns into a zombie on the train in the middle of a fight with the Licker as the train is moving. And there's a bit of a ticking clock because they set up a bomb so that if they don't get back up there before the bomb goes off, like an explosion happens and the hive gets sealed off forever.
They're on the train, the Licker attacks them.
It's a really fun action scene. Thick Neck Nick gets stripped down to his tank top, which, goddamn, bro, is fucking ripped.
Yeah. So the Licker scratches him, so you get like 3 giant scratch marks on his arm.
Yeah, and the Licker mutates whenever it eats humans, so there's some weird mutation going on.
Yeah,
but ultimately, Alice and Thick Neck Nick get back to the surface, and
they kill the Licker because so they're fighting the Licker on the train there. So there's a bunch of pipes for some reason.
Why don't you? Because you gotta have pipes.
Yeah, so all kinds of pipes in a bundle there. So they take the pipes, they slam it against the Licker, which knocks it back. Alice takes one of the pipes and slams it against the Licker's tongue, pinning it to the ground. Michelle Rodriguez at this point, she's turned, so she starts attacking Matt, and so Matt shoots her in the head, which causes Michelle Rodriguez to fall back, hitting a button, which causes the floor of the train to open up underneath the Licker. So the Licker's dragged underneath the train as the train's moving in full motion. So with all the friction, the Licker gets set on fire and dies, which is a really cool death.
Yeah, and then they get back to the surface. Alice is about to give Thick Neck Nick the vaccine, and then RFK's anti-vax police burst in. Are like,
have you guys been taking any Tylenol lately?
We can't vaccinate him. He's mutating. I want him in the Nemesis program.
Yep. So, which if you play Resident Evil 3, you're freaking the fuck out. Oh my god, Nemesis program. Yeah. So as these times are working on Matt there's these worms coming out of his scratch wounds, which is really cool.
But yeah, basically Alice is tranquilized and brought to a medical facility. You see some shots of Jason Isaacs, and Isaacs is like, we get the team together. We're reopening the hive. I need to know what went on down there. And then when Alice fully wakes up, she's just alone in this medical facility, mostly naked, ripping needles out of herself.
Yeah.
And she manages to work her way out of the facility, get sort of a lab coat on.
She also has her look has changed too. Her attitude has changed too, because she was looked all confused, not knew where she was kind of thing. But now she looks a bit more feral, more intense, more confident. She looks like she's a woman on a mission now. So she's changed with this journey and become the person we see her to be, this action heroine for the rest of the franchise.
Yeah, and then she gets out to
the streets of Toronto.
I think this set was, I think, built in Berlin. They just built one apocalyptic street, and then Toronto is actually listed as the Raccoon City location. Okay. Because the thing is, the movie did originally have a different ending. The alternate ending is on the disc, and I think
it's bad.
And even on the Blu-ray, you see I think the ending is was ported from a VHS tape that was in PAL format, which is 25 frames per second, because it looks off on the frame rate.
Yeah, so this alternate ending is she walks up to a building, a corporate building. She gets inside.
Looking for the Nemesis program, and basically does the big lobby gunfight from the Matrix setup.
Mm-hmm. Just the setup, though, not the actual whole gunfight. We don't get that big action sequence.
Yeah, but I guess that's why the ending was reshot in Toronto, because at that point, I think Screen Gems, their facility was at least in Wilmington, North Carolina. I have to assume their business basis was in LA, but Toronto is a big sort of industry center for film, internationally. So
they film the second movie mostly.
Yeah,
in Toronto,
the second,
too.
fourth, and fifth movies all shoot in Toronto. And though the fifth movie also has like some international shooting as well, like they actually shot stuff in Tokyo and Moscow and New York for it, though I have to imagine it was just sort of like plate shoots, and the rest was done in Toronto. And it's actually a pretty good ending, honestly. Like,
yeah,
it's
because
it's a good shot. It's a good shot that really nice theme music plays underneath it, and it both kind of like. And it's very obviously a sequel setup, which kind of becomes a thing for the Resident Evil movies. All of them have a big sequel setup at the end.
Yeah, because like at this point, like the virus is no longer just contained as one facility. It's now hit the urban areas. You know, Alice has the shotgun now. She cocks the gun. Camera zooms away. The film ends. You know, she's ready to take on the next challenge that pops up next and fight more zombies. And My Plague by Slipknot starts playing.
Yeah, and the credits play, and you hear all the best new metal and alternative metal that 2002 had to offer.
Yeah,
it's a nice 100 minutes of your time.
Yeah, it's a solid movie. Yeah, so like so Resident Evil made $103 million off of a $33 million budget. They made 5 sequels, which we talked about. Each one made more than the last. Paul W.S. Anderson's not back for the second or third movie as a director. He's still involved as a producer and a writer, I believe. And
then he returns to direct in... Like, I think he had initially intended to return to direct for 2 and 3, but he had gotten hired for Alien vs. Predator, so 2 gets handled to career second unit director Alexander Witt. Mm-hmm. And for 3, he gets the Death Race remake going, so he hands the reins to Russell Mulcahy, the great 80s trash auteur, Highlander, Razorback, which I haven't seen. Of course, Ricochet.
Ricochet's good.
Yeah, Ricochet's fucking bonkers. Like, Did you ever watch Blowout by Brian De Palma and wish there was more action and that it was trashier and weirder?
Yeah.
Watch Ricochet.
Mm-hmm. And
Denzel
also
gets naked.
Oh yeah, like very early on in the movie, and everyone sees it. Like it's a plot point that's on the news.
Yeah, he gets in his underwear to stop John Lithgow from shooting up like a festival or something.
It's like a carnival or something, yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean cops don't get a free Pepsi anymore?
Yeah. So, also with these movies, too, is that Paul W.S. Anderson starts dating Milla Jovovich after this movie.
They're engaged for a while. There's a little bit of time where they break the engagement, but then they get back together. They start having children. They currently have 3 daughters, all of which look exactly like Milla.
Yeah. One of the daughters play the young Natasha Romanoff in Black Widow.
Yeah, and she's also in the last Resident Evil as the Red Queen.
Oh, right, yeah. And so these movies, like, what I like best about the later movies is that you get a director who clearly loves the actress he has in the movie because they're literally married. And he thinks, I have a very, very hot wife, a very cool wife. I'm going to shoot her in the coolest way possible to show off the world, like, what I think is, like, her best qualities. So it is, like, it's a loving kind of thing. It's not really, it's, like, it's a very sexy performance, but it's not very male-gazy. It's, like, not very perverted in how sexualized the character is. Like, the character is sexy, like, but it's not, like, full, like, it's always nudity nonstop.
Yeah, it's like there are scenes in 2, 3, and 5 where Milla does get pretty stripped down, and 5 has her just straight up in like a BDSM getup that gets called out by a character in the film.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel also, like it's like, you know, like I don't know, like I'm trying to think of like some, like, I don't know, a David Ayer thing where the camera's like shoved up her ass and stuff to, like, you know, really show off like her figure or something. No, we're gonna have her like be a character with agency doing cool things, and it's not like, you know, she's never a damsel, like.
Yeah, and you go to Monster Hunter and In the Lost Lands, the 2 movies that Paul W.S. Anderson has made more recently. Milla is in both of them, and she's great in both of them, but there isn't really much of like a whole like sexualization element to it. Like, I think, like Dave Bautista gets neuter than Milla in The Lost Lands.
I still need to see that movie.
In The Lost Lands, like, I think this is mid to low tier PWSA, but I still think it's a rollicking good time. I do think that it could have been afforded a little bit more room to breathe, but it's basically the closest anyone has gotten to, like, Albert Pune in a while.
Nice. Love to hear that.
Yeah, and Paul's next project is supposed to be an adaptation of the House of the Dead video games.
Okay.
Yeah, because apparently, like, Sega was looking for, like, more people to adapt their video games after the Sonic the Hedgehog movies have been such a success, and Paul noticed that his kids were playing the House of the Dead games.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, I think there's room for this. And there was already a House of the Dead movie, but everyone would like to forget it exists.
It's so bad.
This is a case where video game fans, where gamers would actually be happier to have Paul W.S. Anderson on a project, because the previous guy was acclaimed restaurateur Uwe Boll.
Yeah. Who has made, like, no good movies at all.
I know there are people who stump for his movie Rampage.
I didn't see that one.
Neither have I. I haven't seen any Uwe Boll movies. I have better things to do with my time.
I think, like, Blood Rain's my favorite. It's like a 1.5 star movie, but it's still very, very bad and borderline unwatchable.
Yeah, again, I haven't seen any of them. I don't really have a reason to see
You
any
don't
of them.
really. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. Bad in the same way each time.
Yeah, but I think a few of them had, like, soundtracks by Nuclear Blast Records, which is a big, like, German metal label. Mm-hmm. So they have, like, bands like Nightwish and Blind Guardian on the soundtracks.
Okay.
Like, I think the only Uwe Boll directed thing I've seen in entirety is Wish I Had an Angel by Nightwish, was, like, a big soundtrack single for Alone in the Dark. So Uwe Boll directed the music video for Wish I Had an Angel, which is Nightwish's signature song.
That's interesting.
Music video, and, like, the music video is kind of, like, oddly directed. Like, it's just, like, you know, the band performing in a warehouse, but the shot selection is weird. The way the band is acting is a bit strange. Like, he's like, go kookier, go crazier. Mm-hmm. And it's like, they do not do this on stage, my man.
Yeah. There's a movie that Uwe Boll was acted in a couple years ago. It's a Romanian movie called Do Not Expect Too Much from the End of the World. It came out a couple years ago.
Is that the Radu Jude movie?
Yes, it is, yeah. Yeah,
because I have a friend in the Netherlands who fucking hates that guy. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah. He thinks that director is just sort of like an edgelord. Like, he thinks that director is basically what people who hate Gaspar Noé think Gaspar Noé is.
Mm. Yeah, like, I've heard good things about this movie. I don't know anything about the director other than the fact he made this one movie. But apparently, Uwe Boll's in it and is, like, totally just fine. He plays himself in it too.
Yeah, that sounds, because, like, what I hear about Jude's films is that he's very much sort of like a provocateur, but unlike other, like, European provocateur directors, he doesn't seem to be a sex pest or the guy who made a Serbian film. So,
oh yeah,
didn't he have, like, a Dracula movie at TIFF that had, like, a boner pill ad in the middle of it or something?
Wait, you're talking about the guy to Serbian film or Jude?
Jude.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Because I know he had a Dracula movie, and everything I hear from that Dracula movie seems like late period Argento if it had more of a pulse.
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't at TIFF,
I found,
but
okay, I found Uwe Boll's thing. It was called The Dark Knight, but Warner Brothers sent a cease and desist, so they changed the title to Citizen Vigilante. It stars Armie Hammer and Costas Mandylor.
Oh, from Saw, yeah. So yeah, also, like, speaking of, like, Uwe Boll video game movies, because, like, around this time, like, people did not see video games as, like, you know, something really worth adapting. So that's why Uwe Boll was able to get so many of these adaptation rights, because, like, I don't know, you want to make a Far Cry movie? Go ahead. Want to make a Postal movie? Go ahead. Like, they weren't considering video games as a lucrative property to actually make a ton of money with, which, like, nowadays, like, well, like, after Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario Brothers make $1 billion each, like, yeah, like, they're going to be trying to get some real talent to actually make the movies now. Because why not adapt video games into movies if, like, it's a whole, like, medium you can adapt, and yeah, they actually put some effort towards it. And I think that's one thing that studios are trying to do right now. Like, even the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, which I think is atrocious, at least they put some effort into it.
Yeah, it's like, I remember there being, like, attempts at making a Five Nights at Freddy's movie for a while. There were a bunch of different directors attached to it, and the whole time the Jim Henson Company was attached to, like, do the animatronics. And, like, I know a little bit of Five Nights at Freddy's lore because, like, I don't know, I was in high school when those things were getting huge. Like, at one point, just as an exercise when I was in high school, like, I wrote an outline for a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and I basically, like, imagined it as sort of like a 100-minute sort of, like, in and out guy versus animatronics type deal, which maybe would have been interesting, but given some of the weird shit I've heard about that lore since, people would have gotten mad, because, like, apparently a big thing is that, oh, it's the souls of the children in the animatronics are actually secretly good, it's just the fucking purple guy,
yep,
or whatever the fuck. And, like, I don't know, like, I feel like things keep trying to be lore heavy and world building heavy these days, and it's like, can we just tell a story?
And that's one thing that's actually nice with the Resident Evil movies, is that like the video games get pretty lore heavy too, because like there's a lot of them, but the movies have their own lore to them, their own continuity, but they're not
basically
obsessed.
like they basically switch it up every movie depending on like what Paul is interested in the moment.
Yeah,
like,
but it's not like you have to like watch a TV show to understand how Resident Evil Afterlife plays out. Like, it's pretty contained. Like, they're not confusing. These movies explain themselves pretty well. Like, you might be confused about some like the plot machinations, but like you're not confused about like the overall what's going on in the movie. Like, a pretty straightforward.
Yeah, you also have
movies.
You also have like some retcons that happen throughout the series, especially at the final film.
Yeah,
and it's very funny watching them all pretty close together, because you look at what the final film says and it's like, yes, obvious retcon.
Yeah, but like even the retcons, like they're goofy. They don't make too much sense in the grand scheme, but like they're not jarring to witness, because like, okay, well, like the movie's just going to run with it now. You're not going to be questioning the logic too much. These are just fun, dumb action movies. Don't think about it too much. And like I feel like a lot of these like movies are trying to be heavy in the lore and trying to keep the lore like front and center.
Basically everything's trying to be Lord of the Rings or the MCU now, and it's like, you don't have to, you know?
I find myself just starting to think about it too much. Like, you know, when let's say Spider-Man No Way Home's a great example for me, because like that's one where all these
I haven't seen that, and honestly I'm so Marvel blackpilled that I can't imagine going back to see any of them. Like, except for maybe Guardians 3, because that one I haven't seen, and
that's
I guess
I'd
like to see, but I'm not exactly in a rush, you know?
But, like, I guess just say the problem is Spider-Man No Way Home, which is, like, the one where there's multiple Spider-Man. It's like a multiverse story. So all the villains from other Spider-Man movies, like the Andrew Garfield ones, Tobey Maguire ones, come to Tom Holland's world and everything. But it's, like, the moment before each villain's defeated, they get brought into this reality. And, like okay, cool, like, decent enough premise. But then I start thinking about the other movies, like, okay, well, like, that's not how that character was behaving in this movie I saw back then. And it's just like I'm trying to keep like 5 different movies in my mind while watching this new movie, and also trying to think of the greater continuity of like a Doctor Strange movie or something. And it's just like, okay, well, like now I'm thinking about like 13 other movies and not thinking about the movie I'm currently watching.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like the thing that really kind of made me blackpilled on the MCU stuff is that like a little bit of watching it just kind of started to feel like homework. I remember viscerally being fucking furious at the end of the first season of Loki, and the reason why is that it didn't really have an ending to the story it was supposedly telling. It was just setting up more shit to be dealt with later. The same thing as WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. And it just kind of made me realize that none of these actually wanted to tell their own contained story anymore. Like, people will... There's like a group of people that will say with every new Marvel movie, like, oh, this is the best one since Endgame. It actually tells a whole story, and then you look into it, and it's not doing that at all.
It doesn't.
And it's like that Fantastic Four movie that just came out. Like, I haven't seen it, but from what I've gathered, they basically just rushed like through 3 different Fantastic Four movies just so that they can get to the bit where Robert Downey Jr., Dr. Doom, shows up and takes Reed and Sue's kid
as a post-credit scene. Yeah, like it's. Not
because they're so like because like Marvel is getting like, I guess like everyone involved is getting so scared about how the movies are starting to underperform that they just want to rush to the big splash bit that would make money, and by doing that you actually sacrifice making stories to get people to care about these characters in the first place.
And like it's back to Resident Evil, like because like each movie does have a cliffhanger pretty much, so they set up more things that go along, but before that cliffhanger there's a full movie that's happened, a full movie with like action scenes, characters, introductions, character deaths, new information we learn. So it is a full movie, and the sequels is like, it's not like the first movie setting up sequel, like the 4th movie down the line. It's just setting up the next movie. They go sequentially, and like the nice thing with these movies, you mentioned Marvel feeling like homework. These movies don't feel like homework. They feel like escapism.
Yeah, it's like the longest one is the last one, and even that's only like an hour 46.
Yeah. Like you can watch like these like pretty quickly. They're like, you can spend like a couple weekends just going through all of them. Like they are a pretty breezy watch. I think truly if you are a Resident Evil video game purist and will not accept any changes to like the, you know, an adaptation of the video game, you'll probably get angry with these movies. But if you're willing to just let that go, well, they're a very fun watch. I think the 5th one, Retribution, is the one that I think is the best one and is an actually great action movie. The rest of them are just like fun, B schlocky, good sci-fi action horror. Very light on the horror. It's more action than horror for sure, but like there's fun movies, and I think they're kind of disposable in a good way. They don't expect you to think a lot about them. You kind of just along for a little bit of a roller coaster in the hands of a director who's a pretty good. I think Paul W.S. Anderson's a good visual storyteller. I think that he's clumsy with his dialogue at points. He's clumsy with some of his choices he makes, but as a visual filmmaker, he's great at setting things up and delivering on some very fascinating visual choices. And especially that fifth one. That fifth one has some incredible imagery at points. I think that I can see why people come around to this, because they are a good antidote to, again, we're talking about the Marvel stuff where it's like, doesn't feel like homework. It feels self-contained and stuff. It's actually a filmmaker making a movie with some IP and making it his own, rather than just being beholden to the IP or beholden to like setting up 5 more movies. I think it's good to see movies that actually have some artistic voice going on in them, and that's the great thing with the vulgar auteur theory. Auteur theory is basically saying like there's an author to this, there's a style in place for a movie, and the vulgar auteur theory basically says like we should extend this to appreciate some of the people that are not making critically acclaimed movies, because their style is still very heavily on display. Let's celebrate that. And I think it's good for people like Paul W.S. Anderson to be able to make movies, because they're clearly his movies. And I kind of lament this lack of like a mid-budget blockbuster like this. I think there should be more of them, rather than just having either a cheap indie, something dumped off to Netflix, or be something that's like a $200 million like a superhero blockbuster.
Yeah, something that needs to make $1 billion just to make any money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's like, I do actually kind of like thinking about it, I feel like kind of the start of vulgar auteurism was in the late 90s when the Criterion Collection did DVD releases of Michael Bay's The Rock and Armageddon.
Yep, absolutely. It gives them some like validity, and like Michael Bay is 100% one of those guys too, where it's like, this is a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah, and I think Michael Bay is going to be like supposed to be like dipping his toes into the video game movie sometime soon. Like I think he's supposed to be doing like this adaptation of like a car racing video game with Sydney Sweeney.
There's also all those rumors for a long time that it being fake about him making a Skibidi Toilet movie.
Like the thing is, his production company did get the rights to Skibidi Toilet, but apparently like the main thing that's going on is that Bay is trying to develop the Skibidi Toilet guy as sort of like his own protege, get him money and access to stuff he didn't have, because the Skibidi Toilet guy is just like some dude making stuff in Gmod in like the country of Georgia. So like, yeah, maybe, and like apparently just buying the Skibidi Toilet rights was just kind of like a way to sort of like step into like taking in this guy, Mr. The Fuck Boom, I think is his YouTube channel. Because I've seen the videos where Bay talks about it, and he refers to the Skibidi Toilet guy simply as Boom.
What I also know about this movie too is that like nowadays like a lot of movies are very much the John Wick mode of action.
There was like a long time of backlash to like this sort of like post-Taken Europacore, post-Bourne style of action filmmaking, which was very emphasizing on like quick cuts and like shaking the camera. And it felt like that sort of backlash peaked with like the release of John Wick, because everyone was looking at John Wick being like, look at all this, it's clean cut, clearly choreographed action, shot very cleanly. And then like every movie that tried to like copy that or like hire someone from the 8711 sort of like Stahelski and Leach school, a lot of those movies are fucking ass.
Yeah.
Like Extraction, terrible. Atomic Blonde, like a lot of the David Leitch movies once he split with Stahelski are fucking trash. Like Atomic Blonde has its moments, but the movie itself is just like overall kind of bleh.
But yeah, the John Wick style is now the most popular style for making an action movie. It's supposed to be slick and cool. It wouldn't surprise me if like some like Taken gets a reappraisal too, because that's just a different kind of action that's kind of copying the Jason Bourne style. And the Jason Bourne style is going to feel pretty fresh to people going back to it now, because now we're just in a different era of action movies. So I think people kind of come back to these movies, back to these eras, and think like, hey, like, you know, what were the actual interesting things that came out of the era when we weren't really when we thought this era was just generic? What was the actual interesting filmmakers making interesting choices with the style? What were the actual interesting movies that are popping out that we weren't even considering? Because like something like Resident Evil, like, you know, it felt like almost like Species at times, felt like almost like Independence Day at times, the way the visual effects look and such. Looking back at it now, it kind of feels kind of fresh because it does have that new metal twist to it, which is really funny. And it has a lot of
like, especially now that like new metal has been like fully reappraised too.
Yeah, and because like, it's a genre that died out so fast too. Like it existed for a little bit and then just like pretty much just ended like pretty quickly. It's a very kind of, no pun intended, a corny genre in a sense, and it's like it's fun to see because it doesn't sound like any music being made now.
Yeah, it's like I have seen both Papa Roach and Linkin Park perform live this year, so
nice.
I fully like see like why people, because like as someone who is kind of like a fan of this kind of music, like not all of it, but like but like these bands are still like putting on extremely good live shows to very responsive audiences. Like I saw Slipknot a couple years ago that is just straight up maybe the best live set I have ever like seen.
Nice.
Like Corey Taylor is maybe like one of the best live vocalists I've ever seen. He sounds exactly like he does on the record live.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but anyways, I guess I wonder what the overlap between vulgar auteurism and late style as far as criticism goes, because you can definitely see a vulgar auteurist argument for Megalopolis.
100%. But the thing is, like, I think Francis Ford Coppola was already critically acclaimed anyway, that no one really considered him to be of that mix.
Yeah, but like, there's a lot of talk about Francis Ford Coppola that's basically like, oh yeah, he made the Godfather movies and Apocalypse Now, and maybe if some people have actually seen more than 5 movies, they'll talk about The Conversation.
Yeah.
But a lot of his stuff is just kind of like considered an afterthought, and as much as he is kind of considered one of the greats, a lot of people are just happy to ignore most of his filmography or write it off as garbage when his later career is actually full of like some really interesting swings. And like, I have not seen Megalopolis yet, but I feel like I'd be on the side that is kinder to that movie than a lot of people are.
You feel like Steven Spielberg, who were like the most like Spielberg, one of the great directors, but there's a lot of works of Spielberg's that people just don't really consider. Like the Fablemans, West Side Story, they should be up there in like rankings with like, you know, Schindler's List and Jurassic Park. Like those are just, that's an incredible 1-2 punch of movies.
Yeah, and you also get like people who kind of like write Spielberg and Scorsese off as like pretentious old men who make art movies, when these people have made like some of the most, made their bones on blockbusters, you know? Like, how are we calling the director of Jaws and the director of like The Departed pretentious, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think like the vulgar description really implies like the entire filmography has to be something schlocky and kind of like something not as elevated, something lower tier, lowbrow. I think the vulgar describer really like puts emphasis on them not being as like critically acclaimed at like some point in time. Like, you know, like someone like, I don't know, William Friedkin made some pretty you know, what should be lowbrow movies like The French Connection, but because it was up for, it won Oscars, like no one's going to put him in that mix at all. But it is an interesting thing to think about, because like, what is the difference? I think vulgar auteur is like, I think it's more of an interesting term to help like expand what people think about auteur theory in general, rather than to be like, you know, like, oh, like who is a vulgar auteur, who's not. I think it's just like a filmmaker who has their own style, as a filmmaker has their own style, and I think it should be celebrated for sure.
And yeah.
So I guess so Maeve, do you have any final thoughts about 2002's Resident Evil?
Good movie.
Yeah. So yeah. So what do you think about the series overall? Like, you think this is middle of the pack for the franchise, right?
Yeah, it's like if I had to do a top to bottom ranking, it would be Retribution, which is the 5th one, then Extinction, which is the 3rd one at number 2. Then 3 and 4, I kind of go back. Depending on how I feel, I swap in Resident Evil, the 1st one, and the final chapter, the last one. Then after that is Afterlife, which I like, but I think is kind of like one of the lesser of the good ones. And then at the very bottom is Apocalypse, the 2nd one. And as one last kind of interesting thing, there is going to be a new Resident Evil movie shooting this fall from director Zach Kreger, who directed the excellent Barbarian and movie I have not seen, Weapons.
Weapons is good.
Yeah, I've heard. And Kreger is kind of like an interesting, like, emerging horror adjacent auteur. So I am very curious to see how his take goes, because he is apparently one of those guys who like played the games but never saw the movies, but he isn't planning on like following the games like super specifically. Like, he has specifically said that none of the characters from the games will be in the movie. We only have 2 actors cast. Austin Abrams, who was apparently in Weapons, and
Yeah.
the great Paul Walter Hauser. And the movie is being shot in Prague by cinematographer Dariusz Wolski, who was Ridley Scott's cinematographer for many years. He shot the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. An incredible cinematographer with a great resume. So this is probably the most, I guess, prestige a Resident Evil movie has gotten yet.
Oh, 100%, yeah. No doubt about it.
So I am going to be very curious to see what the discourse is like when that movie comes out.
Yeah, because like I think that what Kratos can do really well is like you're in one location, and the descent into what lies underneath is thematically and atmospherically very interesting. And that's what Resident Evil often is. It's often you start like in a house and you end up in a laboratory downstairs.
Yeah, and back to Paul W.S. Anderson, like the House of the Dead movie that he's developing to shoot soon. Apparently, he is planning on that to be sort of a straightforward adaptation of House of the Dead 3. And he is planning on having a shot in real time gimmick to it.
Huh. That'd be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, we live in a post-Minecraft movie world as far as video games go.
Yeah.
Video game movies go. I did not see the Minecraft movie because I am not 7 years old.
I saw it. It's not very good.
Yeah, it's like it's like that first trailer came out and it was so bad I actually made one of our fantasy leagues like last place punishment to like stream yourself watching that first Minecraft trailer on loop for an hour.
That's awful. That's so mean and cruel, but so funny.
Yeah, it's like I didn't even like expect anyone to actually take it seriously. It was just made into effect for that league, and then someone had to do it, and only 2 people watched them do it because he did it on a Monday night.
That's so funny.
He did it on a Saturday, but I couldn't do it because I was working. So like, yeah, I will probably not watch that Minecraft movie because I have respect for what I do with my time. I could be watching more interesting movies like let me look at my watch pile really quick. The Ben Affleck movie Reindeer Games.
That's a fun one. Not great, but
I'm kind of saving that for December. Like, you know, it's John Frankenheimer, so he apparently like goes ham on the action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
So So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah. Anything you want to plug?
Well, I actually got slipped $20 to read this piece of paper that someone gave to me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. This episode of MoviePod is sponsored by Cy Abelman.
Cy Abelman. Oh, that's great. Yeah, everyone at home, go watch A Serious Man right now.
Wait a minute, this isn't real money. I got tricked.
All right. So you can follow me at Twitter, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at BWishart. You can also follow MoviePod on Twitter, Blue Sky, and now YouTube. So Spooky Month continues on MoviePod. So next week, I'm going to be joined by Alex Dorff, where we'll be discussing the 1981 film Possession with Sam Neill, which I have not actually seen.
That movie rocks.
I've never seen it.
It is part of one of my favorite subgenres of movie, which is Sam Neill has a bad time.
Yeah.
Like, you can, like, do a hell of a triple feature with Possession, Event Horizon, and John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness.
Mm-hmm. I've been itching to rewatch. Again, Paul W.S. Anderson, he also did Event Horizon, which Event Horizon's a pretty fucked up movie.
Yeah, after Retribution, Event Horizon is my second favorite Paul W.S. Anderson movie.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for joining me, Maeve. And to everyone listening, until next week, take care.